It's time. It's Christmas in July. I am so excited. Hello everyone, I'm Caroline and it's the 1st of July. Now my usual videos come out on a Friday, but I've decided, seeing as it's the 1st of July today, I'm going to put out a compilation of lots of other projects I've made over the years, and they go right back to when I first started to pretty much the last Christmas. So there's lots there to see. But I wanted to pop in, say hello, explain what's going on. And I've got all this, look, Christmas. Oh, I just love it. And Christmas in July is a real bonus. Anyway, no time for chatting. Oh, let's get on with crafting. This craft is quick and easy, but you have to allow for some drying time because we're going to be use the great slower down of craft, some paint. If I use chalk paint and a hairdryer, I can speed this up no end. I got this dog, and originally it was probably very pretty and all brightly coloured with this decoupage, but it's very faded now. So I'm going to give it a complete coat of white paint. So puppy is painted. It took 3 coats and still I'm not happy with the painting because of the decoupage underneath the glue. It made him a bit uneven and so very difficult to get a thorough coat. I want to move on, so he's going to have to stay just a little bit less than perfect. But I don't think he minds. He's such a cute fellow. Well, he's white, but he's not very Christmassy. I think he needs a Christmas hat. I've cut this fabric into a 1-inch strip. It's like a fur fabric, and I thought he'd look quite cute if he's got a Christmas hat hanging over his face like that. By wrapping the piece of fabric around, I can tell how big the hat needs to be. And again, if you want to put it straight, it will be a different size. I think on the one eye is going to look really cute. I've cut a piece of fabric to the same length as the little bit of fur. So now I'm going to fold that in half and make a sort of Christmas shaped hat. So this isn't an exact science. I've got a double-sided fabric, so I can now put a run of glue right up either side, very close to the edge. I think I'll do this side first, fold that over, like that, and then do the other side. You can sew this if you don't mind it taking longer, but if you want to be quick, the glue gun is always your friend. When it's cool, turn it the right way in. Again, you could lightly press this, being careful not to melt the glue if you wanted to, but time is of the essence, so I'm not going to. So I'll decide which is the front, which is the back, and then I'm going to glue this on, starting at the front. Run of glue along the edge, and then make sure the fur is hanging over the edge. You don't want any of the red sticking out the bottom. And then round to the back. Across we go. Flop it over. Now this is a lovely hat, but it's going to flop. And I don't think I want a floppy hat. Let's have a look. Oh, now I've made it and I'm putting it on. I think I prefer it on his head properly. Fortunately, it still works out the right size. So I'm going to bend this hat over to there and glue it in place. Cut out a circle to make a rough pom-pom and glue that on the end. So I'm going to glue this on because otherwise every time people pick him up or every time you move him, you lose his hat, it'll fall on the floor. So decide what position you want. You won't need to glue all the way around, just in a few crucial places just to make sure he's got a grip. And now I'm going to put a tiny bit of decoration on his hat. Nothing too big. Glue some berries on as well. Now isn't that cute? I love him. Now you could paint his face back on. I think it could turn it into a bit of a Frankenstein, so I'm not going to do that. As a finishing touch, I'm just going to put a little bow under his chin, and isn't he so adorable? I just love him. He's so much prettier than he was before I started. Right, let's have a look what this looks like up on my display. This next project is so fast, if you blink you'll miss it. Find yourself a Christmas ornament with a hole in the back. I found this very cute reindeer. He was 75p in the charity shop or the thrift store. And I'm going to upcycle him to look really gorgeous for Christmas. I've got this that came in a job lot of Christmas decorations. It's old, it's tatty, there's a lot of wear on these, so I'm going to take these off because I don't think they're doing anything for it. I'm going to leave the rest of the bits on. Now this is going to go into the back of the reindeer. Like that. But it's a little bit bare, so I've got a few bits and pieces. I've got this red poinsettia that I can stick in there. So I'm going to put a little bit of tissue paper in the bottom here to support the top. Like that. And then find the bottom bit or the worst looking bit, and that can go downwards. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue to secure it around the edge. Not a lot. Like that. But it's a bit bare now, so I've got this beautiful poinsettia. So decide where I want that to go, which direction he'll be facing. So I think I'll put that there. Yep, I like that there, so I'll put some glue on, pop it into place. And for around the outside, I've got a few of these red cherry things. I'm not quite sure what they are. I can't see where they're going to stick, so I've hot glued quite a way up the stem and then poke it in and it'll stick to something. And then we put one there. You can add anything, you can add bows, you can just find yourself at the shop one very large pick that will just fill this in one go if you want to. It just makes it a little bit more creative if you add a few of your own embellishments. I think I'll pop one berry in the back there. So that is really cute, really fast to make. And if you're last minute and you think, oh, my Christmas table looks a bit bare, you could make one of those in hardly any time as long as you've got a few bits of pieces and a suitable ornament. Let's have a look what this looks like. For this project, I've got myself a photo frame or a picture frame. Now, I did start doing this and forgot to turn the camera on, so we've gone back in time a little bit. It's a bit loose. So the first thing I did was made sure I chose a frame that looked Christmassy because I want this to be a quick and easy craft. And if I got myself to something that needed painting, then that was going to slow me down. So this was the perfect colour for Christmas. So then I take the back off. Now bring the back up. The back up. Now I've chosen for this picture, this piece of sheet music I've got, it's called Sleigh Ride. Now it's got people's names written on it, it's tatty, it's got the stamp from the shop where it was sold, 1 and 6pence, and I just love it. You can see the very vintage font down there. It's got all the music inside, but I'm just interested in the front cover, and I just love it so much. I picked a backing paper that I thought went well with it. I did try a dark red, but it was just too overwhelming. So now out with the glue stick and I'm going to glue the piece of paper onto the backing board. For this I'm using Scotch glue stick. If you run it down with a bone folder or a credit card, you just make sure there are no big air bubbles. Turn it over, and now I need to trim down there. The board is nice and firm, so I don't need to use a ruler. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of glue between the front and the back pages because otherwise it's going to flop open when I'm trying to fix it. So a little bit there, there and there. And that should do it. Close it up. And now we're going to put some glue on this and place it as central as we possibly can so that it'll be central in the frame. Next, I'm going to reassemble the frame. This is so quick and easy, so much fun and so fulfilling to do. Pop my backing board in, bend these little clips down to seal it in place. Now I love that and it's perfectly well to stand alone like that, but I'm going to put a little bit of interest on as well. I've got a little bit of foliage, well, a lot of berries and a little bit of foliage. So I'm just going to make a little decoration to go on the bottom of the frame, and I think that will really bring out the Christmassy look of it. the red berries on. They really highlight the look of it and also hides the join. Now, wasn't that quick and wasn't that easy? Let's have a look what this looks like up on my display. This is another craft that's so quick, if you blink you'll miss it. It's so easy. You need to go to a thrift store or a charity shop and get yourself a little container. I got this one with some relief on, and that is going to make all the difference. Otherwise you could just paint it in whatever colour you like. I think this is leather and it's a souvenir somebody's brought back from holiday, but I'm just going to put a little bit of dry brushing on it. I think the image on the top of this is almost like a sleepy Bethlehem village. There. So I think it's very fitting for Christmas. And once I put, I suppose, what you call quite a heavy dry brush, and then just wipe with a piece of, this is kitchen towel, and look at that. If I show you this bottom which hasn't been done yet, doesn't it make a difference? So now we do the same with the bottom. And then give this a wipe over. During the Christmas season, you probably will be able to get something with a very pretty Christmas relief pattern on from places like Dollar Tree or Hobbycraft, wherever it is you shop. But if not, thrift stores, charity shops are always a pretty good bet for finding something suitable for this sort of job. One of the big advantages of dry brushing something like this is that it dries so quickly after you've given it a wipe as well. Just going to top up some bits because I think too much paint came off. If you've got a plain top pot, you could put something like poinsettia there with a little bit of foliage sticking out the sides. So I've got a few different things here, so you could build up a little decoration like that on it, but I'm not going to because I think the top is so pretty. The first thing I'm going to do is put this piece of ribbon around using my glue gun. Always decide where you want the back to be, and that's where you can put the join, unless you're putting a bow or you're putting an embellishment. Now I'm going to be putting an embellishment on so I can join it at the front because that's going to be hidden. And now I'm going to add some of this red velvet ribbon to the centre of the white bow. Just gives a little bit of depth. You've got two lots of ribbon on there. So now I glue a little bit of foliage onto the front of the little gift box. Add some little red berries and one of these tiny little tags, which is actually a letter on a tag. And I've turned it over the other way, and now I've written the name of the recipient and I put Sam on. So that makes a perfect little gift box, and you could pop some money in there, some jewellery, anything like that. And I think whoever received that would love it. Isn't it beautiful? This next craft may look like an awful lot to do with lots of bits and pieces, but it really is quick and easy. I picked up these candlesticks in a sale after Christmas last year. You can use candlesticks you get from the thrift store or anything else. You can either leave them as they are or you can decorate them. Now these have already got a bit of a dry brush whitewash look on them, but I don't want to leave them like that, so I've got this metallic gilding polish. If I open up my tub, you can see there it is. I'm going to use some of this to highlight the edges and make these look more Christmassy. I've decided to go in with my finger because it gives me a little bit more control, because this is very fiddly where all the layers and bits of wood turning are. Now this is all down to personal choice how much you put on. I think that's a nice amount for me, so now I'm going to work on the other one. If you want to save even more time, if you don't do this, you just make sure the candlesticks you pick up are ones you love. Then you can save another, 2 to 3 minutes. It really doesn't take long to do this. But if you're really trying to be quick, then don't worry, you can skip this stage completely. Oh, I love that look. I think that is going to look so Christmassy. So now we're going to work on these jars. I love these bon maman jars because they have this like gingham top to them, but they've got bon maman written on there, which isn't ideal, but that doesn't matter because we're going to cover that, but without painting it. You can paint these if you want to, but again, it'll slow you down, and I try to make quick and easy items without painting. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a cork into the centre of each of these. The next thing I've got are these. Now you can use door handles, you can use beads. I got these when I was out for a walk and somebody had thrown an old coat rack out and these were on it, so I unscrewed them and brought them home. So I'm going to put these onto the top of here with some more hot glue. Now I know that doesn't look very glamorous, but don't panic. It's all going to change. So now I'm going to glue some pine cones right around the outside of the cork. So now I'm going to get some foliage and some little bits of faux fir tree and pop them in to the gaps, and then that will ensure that even the tiniest bit of writing will be hidden, but you'll still see all the pretty gingham around the edge. And then pop some in at an angle on the top just to hide the cork. Add some glue. Pop it in and hold it at an angle. I think I'll add some of these berries. They look very effective. Now one obvious way to save the time on this is to just make one. I just fancied making two. I thought they'd look much more decorative as a pair. The leaves are a bit big, so I trimmed them down and I'm going to put them underneath the berries just to add a little bit more interest. You could use these as a gift and put bonbons, sweets, candy, scented candles in. Or you've got another option. If you take the lid off, you could put a little candle in. Now this is going to slip to the side, there you go, but you could, doesn't that look beautiful? Glue everywhere as usual whenever I make a project. So the options are endless with what you can do with these. So let's have a look what they look like. Project, I'm just going to take some boxes that I don't need and turn them into something really cute. First thing to do is make sure they do close nicely. Those are fine. This one keeps popping open, so I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the edge there, close it, hold it in place, and it's fine. I picked a few papers that I thought looked a bit like a farmhouse Christmas. I just liked them. I thought they were cute and I think they'll go well together. So now I'm just going to wrap these as if I was wrapping a Christmas present. You can, if you want to, fill these with something that you're not going to need again. And that way then it'll add a little bit of weight to them. I've got some beautiful velvet ribbon here that I thought went so well with these boxes. So I'm going to use this like olive green colour on this parcel. And I'm going to wrap it around once, cut it to size, just slightly overlapping, and then glue it into place. Now come around to the front, so I'm going to put this there. I don't want too much bulk on the bottom of these because I want them to stand up or stand on each other. Make a little bow, glue that in place, and if you put a little bob of glue there and ruffle up your little tails, it makes the bow look much more sumptuous. As usual, I've got hot glue everywhere, but if you're careful you won't get any hot glue on the bow. Just means a little bit more time, or an even better idea is to put a ready-made bow on. But let's get the rest of the ribbons on these parcels. Another thing you can do, if you get a piece of twine and take one of the threads or the plies from it, so it's nice and thin, you can thread on a few little mini bells. That's always quite cute. And just glue on a little bit of pretty foliage. Fluff up the edges of your twine where you cut it. Try and make it look a little bit like berries. A little bit of glue on the back. And pop that on there. And another option is to find something you've got in your stash. I've got this little piece of, it's an elastic, I'm not quite sure, probably off a box of chocolates or something. A little bit of glue. Pop that on. This is just a piece of tangerine skin. I cut it into star shapes, dried it out on the windowsill in the sunshine, and it makes a lovely little Christmas decoration. So let's have a look what these look like. For this project, I'm going to use this big plastic bauble. It's in two halves and you join it together. And I'm going to be using a pretty dangling decoration. You can pick any decoration you want as long as it dangles in some way. So first thing I'm going to do is just paint some glue, some PVA glue into the bottom, just a little bit, just to add some interest to this. So now I add a little bit of PVA glue to the bottom section of both of the halves. Then I'm taking some of this Do Crafts Paper Mania glitter, and it's a gorgeous shimmering colour. Pop some in there, not too much. Give it a bit of a swish around and then pop it. And then pour it into the other one. On top of the gluey bit. Now at the moment you can see the PVA glue, but that's going to dry clear, so don't worry about that. You can wait for it to dry before you move on, but I'm not going to because I want these projects to be quick and easy. The only thing is, when you're doing this, if you scratch your dangly bit onto the glitter, you might make a mark in it, so make sure that you don't do that, or just let it dry. So now I've tied a knot up a little bit higher so that there's a dangle but not so much of a dangle, and then hook this. If you can open up the two pieces of whatever it is that's tied with ribbon or whatever, and hook it over the little dangly bit on the bauble like that, and then close your bauble. Then I'm going to cut the excess off. I'm going to stand it in a yogurt pot so that it doesn't roll away. And then tie a knot at the top. Now to hide this little bit that's sticking out here of the original hanger of the dangly, I'm going to put a little bit of this. It's more of a copper than a gold, but I think we'll be fine using that. I'm going to put that around the top. Not the whole thing, obviously, just some little bits that I chop off. And now I'm going to put a tiny bit of gold tinsel around the top just to hide the joins. And look at that, I think it's gorgeous. Let's have a look what this looks like. This project, I'm going to use a jar, I'm going to use a little Christmas decoration and some more red paper. Now you have the option of painting this lid, but I'm not going to. I'm going to cover it with a little bit of paper to hide all this because I don't think that's going to suit the project. The lid of my glitter is just the perfect size for making a circle to cover the writing on this lid. So I'm going to draw around it, cut it out. Cutting out a circle is terribly difficult. And then I'm going to use some Aleene's tacky glue and glue this into the centre of the lid. To give this more of a Christmas feel, I'm going to add some of this gorgeous silver rickrack braid right around the outside of the circle, and it'll also make the edges of the circle look a lot neater. This is a step that you can completely skip if you want to. So I've added a few little embellishments to the top of the train. It makes it look more Christmassy, and I think it's a great way of hiding that little dot where you cut off the hanger. Hopefully you've made a better job of gluing the train on than me. I always get hot glue everywhere. It wouldn't be my art if there wasn't hot glue showing somewhere. So then you just pop your lid onto your jar. So you could put into this some Lego if you've got a child who likes Lego. Be careful because you'd need it with an older child because there are so many bits and pieces. This part really is not a toy, so just be careful, bear that in mind. But for an adult, you could put in some sweets or some scented candles, or you could fill it with some Christmas flowers to make a pretty display. Let's have a look what this looks like. Easy craft, I am going to use this little wood round, only it's something a viewer sent me in and it was actually from their own garden and they made that. Isn't that clever? I'm going to break open the Mod Podge, and I've got this that was sent to me too, and it's a little vintage Santa head. So I'm going to glue this onto here with Mod Podge and also give it a coating of Mod Podge over the top just to protect it. As you can see, this image of Santa has little bits of holly in his hair. So what I'm going to do to give this that extra bit of oomph is I'm going to glue a few little bits of foliage and berries on here to make it more three-dimensional. It's always worth keeping an eye out for very nice picks. This is off quite a large floral pick, and they last forever then because you can just cut little bits off them all the time. I've used this in such a lot of projects, it's still going strong. This ribbon is refusing to thread, so I'm going to pop it into a darning needle, which is a needle with a very big hole. Poke the needle through the hole, and the job is done. So now I like to tie a knot at the top there. You can't just tie the top of the ribbon, but if you tie a knot there, it angles the little decoration so that it hangs better when it's actually on your tree. And a little knot at the top. And look at that for a very fast Christmas decoration. So quick, so easy, and so much fun to make, and you can interpret this in any way you want to. Let's have a look what this looks like. This quick and easy project involves something I got from the charity shop or the thrift store for 50p. Gorgeous little doggy, look at that. And I got this hat, which was actually an egg cozy that came off some egg cups that weren't very nice particularly. I couldn't think what to do with them, but now I've come up with an idea. And I got some thick yarn, but it's not thick enough. I want this to be thicker. And in my tub I've got some little bows, so I'll be using one of those. I've got about 3 meters of this yarn. If I show you on a ruler, you can see it's really not that thick. You can buy a really chunky yarn. I folded it in half, so we've now got about a 1.5 meter of double yarn. I'm going to fold it again, find something heavy to put on the end, and then I'm going to twist and twist. Now the best way to do this, if you tie a knot at this end, and I don't know how I'm going to show you this, but you put your finger through and twist always in the same direction, and eventually the twist will start to spread, as you can see, up towards whatever heavy object you got, or a doorknob, or your friend's finger. And keep twisting and twisting, but keep it fairly taut, not too taut, because it'll pull from under the bottle. But keep twisting. And eventually it'll feel saturated with twists. I suppose that's the best way to put it. Run along like this, moving the twists right up, otherwise they'll all concentrate at the one end. When it's quite tight, bring this hand up to the bottle and gently pull the wool or the yarn from under the bottle, and then, and only then, let this end go. Run your hand up and down it a few times. You may need to be firm. And look at that. You've got yourself a really lovely braid. Now if you cut this, it will instantly unravel. So I'm going to tie the end to stop it unraveling, and then I'll glue it just before I cut the end. So I get the hat. Let's chop some of these loose ends off. As you can see, it's certainly not a new hat, but you're not going to see all that. And then pop it on the dog with the worst part of the hat towards the back. And I'm just going to put some glue on it, just to stabilise it a little bit so that it won't move around when I'm trying to work on it. Starting at the back, I'm going to glue this onto the hat. And the reason why I didn't glue it on before I put it on is because this hat, if you look, has slightly stretched. And if you glue this on, then the hat won't stretch properly. So now it's time to glue the decoration right around the bottom of the hat, turning it into a Santa hat. And now the difficult bit, and you probably will need to put on some form of finger protector. Put in your fingers exactly where the end of the length of braid is. Cut your yarn off. A little blob of hot glue in there. And then roll it around to get it to stick. A little bit of glue to make it firm on the back, and then you can trim it off. As you can see, it's a bit messy. And now all we need to do is glue a little bow to the doggy's neck. Now when you're in a charity shop or thrift store, you can keep an eye out all year for the sort of thing that you can use for this. It could be a dog, a cat, a mouse, anything. And look at that, how cute is that, and how easy was it to make? Let's have a look what it looks like. Are you enjoying Christmas in July already? Oh, I really am. All the Christmas music makes me feel so Christmassy. I can't wait to get stuck in. So if you're enjoying it, don't forget to subscribe. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the videos that I put out for the rest of the month. And also, you know you've heard this a million times. Ding the little bell. Click on it, the little bell by the side of subscribe. And that way then, they'll just let you know every time I put a video out. Because sometimes it's easy to forget the videos are coming out. Anyway, back to crafting. Hello everyone and welcome to my 5 Christmas lighting ideas. This is all made with items I bought from either thrift stores or from charity shops or street markets, brocants. So it's not the sort of thing that you may be able to get identical to what I got, but I'm sure you'll get something very similar. And my top tip is to make sure you buy in your Christmas bits and pieces well into the summer. Don't wait until Christmas because prices fly up then. So when you're out and about, people want to get rid of their Christmas bits and pieces and you just buy them up at a bargain price. Right, let's get stuck right into our first project. For this craft, I'm going to use this, which is, I'm not quite sure what it is, some sort of filing thing from IKEA. I got that for 50p in a charity shop. And we're going to use some gorgeous ribbons. Look at this. I just think it's so beautiful. I've got this one, and they're all wired. And this ribbon is actually very wiry all the way. You can see it holds its position. So we'll be using those. And I've also got this beautiful little fairy or angel, or she's a girl playing, I think it's supposed to be a violin, but it looks like a banjo. 40p from the charity shop, and she's absolutely gorgeous. There's glitter everywhere from the different ribbon. The first thing I need to do is to remove this because we don't want this on. We need to take it off. And that will come in very useful for another project, so I'll put that safely away with the black screws that are the perfect match. So as you can see, there's a little bit of difference in the colour of the wood and some little holes, but that's not a problem because for this craft, these are going to be covered. You can fill these in with sparkle if you've got something similar, but we'll be fine with it as it is. So even though this looks clean, I'm going to give it a bit of a rub over, and look at that. It certainly wasn't clean. So it's always worth you doing this. Now, one of the things you may want to do, which would make it essential to rub this over, is to paint this white. But I'm not going to paint it white because I love the fact that this is going to be a very white Christmas display. But with the natural wood behind it, I think it's just going to look perfect. Now I'm going to take this yarn and I'm going to wrap it around these 2 bars. Now I could paint them, but I'm not sure whether at some point in the future I'll be repurposing this, and I may want the black bars then, so I'm going to use this, cover them up, and they'll look quite Christmassy because it's quite a snowy effect with it being so fluffy. It's going to be a fuss to work with quite a big ball like that, so I'm just going to wind a little bit off, like that. And it'll be so much easier to work with. Trying to be over generous with my guess at how much it's going to take, so I don't have to join it. I start by applying a tiny bit of hot glue to the back so that you can't see where I start, and then just wrap it round and around and around with the odd little dot of hot glue just to keep everything together. Have I got the messiest glue gun on YouTube? Have you seen anybody with a worse glue gun than mine? Everything seems to stick to it. So now I'm going to finish up this one leg and then do the other one. So they're now looking much more Winter Wonderland Icy Palace to me. I'm going to measure the back, which is 7 inches across. And then I'm going to get my trusty placemat that I've used for several things. As you can see, I'm undoing the outside and you get lots and lots of this braid off it. And I want to make a circle about 6 inches across. So about there, and I'm going to pop some glue on to hold it in place. And then go all the way around again. As this is quite springy, you really need to be holding it for quite a few seconds to let the glue cool, otherwise it'll just open back up. I'm going to use this lace that I took off an Easter bunny. It was from the pound shop, which is like dollar stores in America. I thought I could use it for later on, so now I'm going to use it for something for Christmas. Now I'm going to cover the hoop with the tinsel. I'm going to use these Christmas lights to wrap this circle, but I'll turn on, by turning on the lights first, you know where you're putting the lights, because otherwise you could end up with them not very evenly spaced. I'm going to tie a piece of ribbon to the top, which will hold the wire in place and give us something to hang it from. Don't tie this too tight in case you cramp the wire too much. Using hot glue, being very careful not to get it on the wires. I'm going to pop it on the back of the little piece of ribbon there, and then pop that into place centrally at the top. I got these from the pound shop. You can get them pretty much from any pound shop, dollar store, Dollar Tree, anywhere like that. 18 in a pack. I'm going to use 3 different ones. I tie the little threads onto the little baubles and then attach those to the ring. With a bit of hot glue, I attach the ring to the case. This wire will be around the back eventually and you won't see it. I'm going to cut out some mountain shapes and then cover them in PVA glue. And now the fun part. Well, I was going to put on this little bow and I've decided I don't like it. I was trying to go for a smaller one. The ribbon is far too fat for it. It didn't work. So I've taken it back off. You didn't see me put it on, but I did put it all on. I'm taking it back off. And now I'm going to add a bigger, fluffier bow. So I've got the tails here that have still got some florals stuck to them. So I've left them on. I'm just going to glue that in place with my glue gun. So that was the original bow, and I didn't like it, so I've now made this bow. It'll need a little bit more fluffing when I've finished, but I'm going to just glue it onto the top of the lantern, see if I can show you, and then we'll go up and have a look what this looks like on the display. No, I can't show you because it actually is higher than my camera. So I'm just going to pop some glue on, lots of it. I'd rather be sure it's going to stick. And then pick the nicest side, which I think is that side, and just hold it in place. Now let's see what this huge bow on the lantern looks like up on my display. Project, I'm going to use this old decorative, I think it's supposed to be a birdcage. The handle snapped off the top. It cost me 50p in a French brocante. With this project, it is very adaptable. You can make it as quick or as slow as you like. You add lots of detail or not. I am going to put some white wax on this because the colour theme is going to be black and white. So I don't want to put a darker wax on it, but I don't want to paint it white either. Just want to lighten it a little bit. Just give it a quick going over with some wax, and then we'd be ready to carry on. You may be worried you're not going to be able to find a lantern like this in a thrift store or a charity shop or even somewhere like Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby, but that doesn't matter because you'll get something similar and then you can just adapt your idea to fit to it. I'm going to use a remote control candle for this because I'm going to put this in the middle and I don't want to have to keep picking it up and pulling it out of the display to turn it on and off on the bottom. But if you're going to do this, first thing to do before you put it in, check it works, because if it needs new batteries it will be really frustrating. I'm also not going to glue too much in place so that at any point you need to replace the batteries, you can just pull it out, and that way then you can also change the decor for some summer decor too. This has got like little marks as if a candle's been dripping, but they're going to get a little bit scratched on the way in because they're just too fat to go through. There we go. Now this is going to be difficult to show you. Again, it's one of those projects I can't do lying down because otherwise the candle's going to move. The theme for this is going to be black, white and silver, and I've got these which came off one pick like this. It's a very reasonable way of buying flowers. I got these in the car boot sale, so I got them very cheaply, or it was a charity shop, somewhere like that. I very rarely pay a lot. And what I'm going to do is push some of these leaves up a little further because I don't need all that length. And then chop them down to a more manageable size, but not too short, otherwise you can't get them to stay in place. So when you put these in, don't layer them on top, otherwise you'll see all the stalks. Layer the one underneath the last one, like that. And then pop them all the way around the lantern, just sticking out of the lantern occasionally. Well, I've decided to add more florals, so I'm just going to chop these off and use these. I do love a bit of sumptuousness. Can't beat a bit of sumptuousness. I'm leaving the pick longer on these ones because they've got further to travel. Oh yes, that's looking very sumptuous. I know you can't see it, but it is. Now this cage has got a broken handle on the top, and I do have this bird, and I was going to put the bird in the cage because that's traditional, but I'm not a fan of cage birds, so I am going to put my bird on top of the cage because he doesn't have to be in a cage. There's a hole there. I got this from a French brocante for 50 cents for 2, I think it was, and it's got this little hole where it was fixed to a garniture or something like that, and that hole happens to be the right size to poke onto this broken handle. So I'm going to break out lots of hot glue. I've got this bow I got from the range, and I'm just going to pop this here. I love a bow, any excuse, but I don't want to overdo the bows on this. Getting this to stay at the right angle could be a challenge, but we'll find out. Just clean some of the glitter up while I'm holding this in place to dry firmly. I'll leave the link for my little ladybird vacuum down in the description below because I find this so useful, just in case you fancy buying one. Yep, I think that's firmly stacked. So now, I don't know if I can tip it up to show you. Let's have a look. We'll go from the back there and press the on button. Everything's working, so let's see what this looks like up on my display. Christmas seems the perfect opportunity to use this other storage, whatever tray it is that I got from the charity shop for 50p, originally from IKEA. And this time I'm going to use some Christmas paper on this. So I'm going to get my Aleene's tacky glue out. I need a lot, so I'm going to unscrew it and do it like that because it takes forever to come out otherwise. And then pop this onto the back of the, what are we going to call it? We'll call it the frame again. Run down with the bone folder just to make sure there are no bubbles. Oh, that's looking very festive already, isn't it? I've got a teddy bear. I'm going to cut his tag off, like that. And then this teddy bear is going to get glued in place to my little frame with, surprise, surprise, more hot glue. Just one dollop on his bottom has done the trick. I've got this, which is part of an old flower pick, and I'm going to attach some twine to this to make it look a bit like a rope. And then you want one of these. I'm going to take my wire cutters and cut off the little hanger from the bauble. Now I glue the end of this into the bauble. Any ideas what it is yet? If we turn it that way, we've got a balloon. Now if I just glue this to Teddy's hand, it's going to flop. So I'm going to glue it to the top of the frame in just the right place so it looks like Teddy's holding it. And then I'll put it in Teddy's hand. So decide where I want it to be, which is about there. And then glue it in place. And now glue Teddy's hand to make it look as if he really is holding the balloon. I think somebody should invent an instant hot glue cool down gun that you could just go psh, squirt some frozen cold air at the glue and then it would set really quickly. I would, it's just I'm not very technically minded. Now I'm going to glue this little tartan bow onto the bear, under his chin, like that. And to tie in the balloon to the bear, I'm going to add one to the bottom of the balloon too, like that. Now this is pretty much finished. If you want to, you can put a decorative edge down the side. I'm liking the simplicity of this, so I'm thinking I'm probably not going to. I've got this little candle, and so Bear becomes a lantern and gives him a little bit of light of his own as well. I'm going to just use that to stand at the front there. And then you just pick it up, turn it on and off as necessary. But we need something on the top. Now I think it's got to be a bow, and I think it's got to be a tartan bow. So now I'm going to measure the top of this lid and go slightly longer and then turn back. And then slightly longer and turn back. And then I can do the rest down on my work surface. Now if you're going to be using a lot of ribbon like this, pop your ribbon roll on the floor, otherwise it'll just keep curling and drive you bananas. Now I'm going to come in about an inch shorter on that side and across to this side, and then turn in about an inch shorter on this side as well. Just about there-ish. You haven't got to be too accurate, don't panic. And then you're going to do the same thing again. Go in about an inch shorter. That's about-ish. And then an inch shorter on this edge too. Chop this off at over the halfway mark, and then what I like to do is to turn this one back so the end is hidden right inside the bow. Don't worry about being superbly accurate, just enjoy what it is you're making. It's much more fun that way. I'm just going to find the halfway mark. I don't want to do this too tightly. And then you've got this. And now it's time to do some floofing. So we floof all 3 loops like that. It looks so effective when you do this, and it's so easy. You will need wired ribbon. This won't work if you don't use wired ribbon. And the reason why we went slightly bigger than the top of the frame is because you do use up some of the length when you actually round this up to the top. So that's roughly it. I'm not going to worry too much because I'm going to get it squashed now when I actually put it on top of the frame and then have to refloof it. Now we need some tails. You've got to have some tails on a bow. And I'm going for about that long, I think. And decide how many tails you want. And are you going to do a contrasting tail too? Turn that round that way. It looks like that now, but we could put on something like this. Make an additional tail, or will that take away from the tartan look? I think it may lift the tartan look. I'm not sure. Let's have a look what red looks like. Oh yes, I think red is going to be a good idea. So let's chop the red. And then get the centre of both pieces of tail. And then bring your pipe cleaner, bring your bow and pipe cleaner down, and make sure the red is at the top. And give it another twist. Now we can cut the pipe cleaner off shorter because we don't need that. As you can see, my bow is really getting squished, but that's not a problem. That's why I didn't fuss too much when I started. So now let's have a look at the lengths and cut your tails to the length you want. And also, if you fancy, dovetail them. I like to dovetail them. Now I'm going to glue my bow to the top of the frame. No surprises there. On it goes. And again, don't worry that it's squashed, that's not a problem. If you want your loops to be absolutely perfect, you could always find some hair curlers and put them to go around those. But I don't mind that much. I like my tails hanging over the corner there, but you could, if you put them on the front, you'll hide Teddy, and if you put them too far to the side, you won't see them. So I've got them coming over the corners. And it also hides the little black pieces. I think I'll pop a little bit of glue on there, and then I know it'll permanently hide those black bits. As a little finishing touch, I'm going to put some hot glue onto this little piece of Christmas foliage. Pop it there. It's a little bit of a Christmas garland I had. And then glue on a couple of Christmas berries. Which will be easier to see when you're looking front on. I've decided to put a little bit of ribbon, I got this here, right the way around the bottom of the frame, just to lift it a little bit, and so there's a clear distinction between the bottom of the actual lantern and tabletop. So that's a very wonky view for you. Let's have a look what this looks like up on my display. I started filming and forgot to turn the camera on, so we are starting to film now. I took the light fitting out. Oh, it was a disaster to get out. It was all just non-return bungs and things, so I had to just break it to pieces to get it out. I've then given it a very, very light sanding and put a little bit of dark finishing wax on it, just to give it that more aged look, because even though it looks very traditional, it wasn't. It was probably bought yesterday. I've got a candle to go on the top, but first of all we need to decorate this using some of these. Got lots of little wooden Christmas ornaments, and I'm going to pop them all around the bottom. I think that'll look really cute. But now this is a bit of a dip here, so if I put things on in the dip, they're all going to be wonky, so I'm going to glue their heads where they touch to the fat bit, if you see what I mean. And that way then they'll be as level as I want them to be. Now I'm not going to use him because I've just noticed he's harmless enough, but he's got bits missing. I got this box of bits and pieces. I think these were in the charity shop for 50p. I know I wouldn't have paid a lot because I buy my Christmas items out of season and you get them so much cheaper. See where you need to pop the glue. It's going to be very difficult to not over glue this and have glue bulging out everywhere. Especially me, because I am notorious for making a terrible mess with my hot glue. It is difficult to get the fine line between using too much glue and not putting enough on and they fall back off. But I think they're pretty firm on there now. It looks a bit plain still, so I'm going to dress it up a little bit now. First of all, I need to cover this hole. So I'm going to stick something on the front there. I think that little tartan bow will look lovely. And the hole is instantly gone. Now I'm covering the edge of my candle with a little bit of this stiffer ribbon. It's very pretty and sparkly. And now when I pop it over the top of the candlestick, it just looks so much better. This is actually the right length to stick out a little bit on the bottom, so when I put it onto the candle holder, it covers this ugly lip. And look at that. I'm going to stick a simple ready-made bow on this side too, and that way then, whichever way you look at it, you can see the bow. So you can make this as fancy or as sparkly or as plain as you like. I just think it's lovely and a great way of using up if you've got a lot of these little wooden ornaments and an old tatty candlestick. If I turn the light on. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's lovely from that side. Right, let's go see what this looks like up on my display. I got this jar from the charity shop for 30p. So I'm going to use this for my craft. Give it a bit of a wipe over, take the cork out, and then get some tissue paper. Now this one's quite a thick tissue paper, but any tissue paper is good. Scrunch it up, and that's what we're looking for. Really scrunchy effect. And also tear it into smaller, more manageable pieces. Oh, isn't that fun? Great for taking out your frustrations at the end of the day. I've got these words and they say Christmas and magic, and I'm going to stick these. They're made with a cricut or cricut sort of thing. If you can get yourself a waterproof black pen, you could write it on with that instead. And then add a little fairy. So this now says Christmas magic, but after all that hard work, we're going to take up some watered down PVA glue and we're going to glue this scrunched up tissue paper over the top of the words and right the way around the jar. Don't panic, this isn't as crazy as it looks. You can make this as rippled and ruffled or as flat as you like. I'm going for more of a ruffled, rimpled, whatever the word would be, crinkled look. You have to be very careful when this tissue paper is wet because it will tear so easily. You can use any tissue paper for this that you want, but just make sure that you can see light through it. If you want to use like a pale pink or something to go with your decor, then that'll be fine. So that will take a while to dry because you've used so much glue on it, just so as not to tear the paper. So while that's drying, I'm going to take the lid and we're just going to put a little bit of a decoration on the top. So now I'm just adding a few little winter leaves and I've got some beautiful pink glistening berries. It's not the traditional colour you would tie in with Christmas, pink, but it's very fashionable and I just think it's pretty and fairy-like. In the ideal world, your jar will now be dry. Mine isn't because I'm rushing, because I got a few things to film this morning. So now it says Christmas magic on the glass, but it's not really full of Christmas magic, is it? So we better add some. I've got a string of fairy lights, battery operated, and I'm going to pop them in. These you can get from the pound shop or the dollar store or Hobby Lobby, just about anywhere really, hobby craft. I think I got these from Amazon. Yep, I got these ones from Amazon. I had like 10 in a pack and they're supposed to go in a bottle, but they're very useful because they've only got a very small switch on them. If I turn the light on, pop that in, pop the lid on, and very carefully, because the tissue is still wet and delicate, I've got a jar full of fairy magic. So let's have a look what this looks like up on the display and when it's dry. I got 12 quick and easy Christmas decorations for you to make. There is one that's got a bit of sewing, so it may take you a little longer, but it's such fun, I included it anyway. Well, I've got so many things to show you today, so no time for chatting. Let's get on with crafting. I'm going to use these popsicle sticks, and they're a bit pale, so I've got this brown felt pen to darken them up. This is so much quicker than painting. There's virtually no drying time at all. And a lot less messy, even though I still seem to get covered in it. I'm not going to paint the backs because they're going to be stuck to fabric, so you won't even see them. And with a quick and easy craft, anything to save time is good in my books. And I think that's as good as a wood stain. You don't have to use a pro marker. You can use a cheap felt pen. It doesn't matter. A marker. I've got this fabric that is cut to the width of a cocktail. It's not a cocktail stick, is it? A popsicle stick. So I'm going to glue that in place. I think the easiest way to put the glue is onto the stick rather than onto the Hessian, because I've done that before and glued my Hessian to my cutting mat. Pop it in place. And then trim the edge. Like that. I've got an embellishment that's going on here, and if I put it in place ready, then I know I'm not going to cut my piece of fabric too short. So a little run of hot glue up the back. Place it on the Hessian. Lift it up because a little bit of hot glue is coming through the Hessian. Then get your other lollipop stick or popsicle stick, and you're going to be gluing that on the bottom. Oh, I don't think I'm going to trim this off. I think I'll cut it there. Let's see if this works. I'm having a moment of inspiration. Get my pokey thing. Everybody needs a pokey thing. So much easier than trying to use your fingers to pull out little edges for fraying. Oh yes, I like it with a little bit of frayed bits on the bottom too. A little bit of frayed bits. That's not the most intelligible sentence in the world, is it? Now I'm going to take some of my twine and furl the end a little bit. Little bit of glue. On it goes. On with your finger protector, unless you have asbestos fingers. Figure out how long you want this to be. Chop it off again. Unfurl it. You don't have to do this, but I think it'll stick a bit better. Now it is important to make sure this is the same width from both sides, so using the Caroline Johnson incredibly unsuccessful way of measuring, I'll use my finger about there. I'm not a big measurer. I hate measuring. I never seem to get it right anyway. Pop that on there. And there you've got yourself your decoration. There's a shame there's a bit of a bump in that burlap. I don't know why, but it'll be fine. And just to finish it off, I'm going to put a few little gold stars in the sky. One there. Oh dear, stars don't like hot glue. I've never hot glued stars on before, and I just realised they don't like it. So I would advise you not to use hot glue. Not unless you want little sticky or lumpy bits like that. Oh well. Look at that. I love it. I think it's so simple, so quick and easy. Oh, let's get on with the next one. I've got this heart-shaped bauble, which I'm going to pull the end off. I've got a tree and I'm going to take the end off that. Fill the end with some hot glue and pop the tree in. And then I'm going to take this cap that was on the end of the bauble and put it on the end of the tree. Careful, it squirts out of the holes in the top and burns your fingers. And now make a really pretty glittery bow using a pipe cleaner. Make it into a bow shape and tighten the back. So easy to do this, you don't even end up tying a knot. And glue it into place, covering the join. Then add a pearl to hide the pipe cleaner. And look at that. That is looking so lovely. And when you think how long that took to make, if you blinked, you missed it. And I just love it. And you can put more embellishments on if you want to. You can add some little pearls onto the tree. You can decorate your little bottom bauble. I think that is gorgeous. I forgot to turn my camera on, so I'm going to show you this one and tell you how I made it. I got a long pine cone. I got this from France a few years ago. It fell off the tree and I brought it home. So I cut the top bit off, which is this bit here. I just snapped it off. Then I added a hanging loop to the top and then made a bow. I'll show you how I made the bow. Just make a sort of bow shape like that, and then I tied it with the pipe cleaner there, trimmed the edges, glued it into place, and then put this embellishment on the top to hide the join. And that was it. You can add more snow-like effect on it if you wanted to. You could put some glitter, just a bit of white paint. I love the natural look. I think the brown, red and green is beautiful, and the hanger actually goes quite well with it. I did mention when I wasn't filming that I do prefer to either put a twine or a thin lace or perhaps cotton as a hanger rather than ribbon. Ribbon is lovely and I do use it sometimes, but it isn't as easy to hang your decorations when you use ribbon. Right, so that was very quick because I only showed it you. We better get on with the next one. Christmas decoration, I thought we'd make a star. So I got a star shape made of cardboard and I'm going to put it down on top of this gingham fabric. This will make a lovely country style star for your tree. And sometimes if you're lucky you can manage to squash the star next door to the other one because there are ins and outs, and put the outy bit in the inny bit and save you some fabric. And then, yep, you've guessed it, cut them out. When I'm cutting a rounded star, I always find it easier to chop straight to the edge and then round the corner. It just makes it a little bit easier. I don't know why. It works for me. Ta-da! Put your stars together with the pencil sides inward because it's very difficult not to leave a little bit of pencil showing. So always make sure that your pencil marks are on the inside. If you're not using a double-sided fabric like me, then make sure you do the drawing on the back of the fabric. If your stars don't match up, then it's probably that your pattern isn't completely, I don't know if it will be symmetrical because of the star shape, but it isn't quite matched up. So I've had to make sure I got the right points, joined with the right points to make this all line up. Out with some embroidery floss on a needle, put a knot in the end, wrap it round your finger, roll it, hold the knot and pull tight, go between two of the arms of the stars, and between the two layers of fabric and poke your embroidery floss through. I think I've overdone it here. I didn't want to run out, so I got plenty, but I think I've sort of got enough to sew 3 stars, but we'll find out. And then in from the edge, I don't know, about 1/2 centimetre, whatever looks good to you, do what they call a running stitch, which is one of the most basic stitches. I think it is the most basic stitches, which is just in and out, and then in and out. So now I've sewn most of the way around, but don't sew this last little bit here. Get your wadding. As usual, I'm using the inside of a cushion that I picked up for 50p at the thrift store. A brilliant way to get cheap wadding. And then using your pencil again, poke the wadding in, making sure it goes up into the points of the stars. Now you can pack this as tightly or as loosely as you want. I'm going for not too floppy, but certainly not too firm. Stuff the points that are sewn first, then the middle of the star, and finally work your way along the last point. And this is the absolute most fiddly bit of this job, is trying to hold the stuffing in place and sew it up at the same time. Don't try to work with too big lumps of wadding, because it will just be counterproductive and take you forever, and it'll be lumpy and bumpy. Make sure it's out of the way of your sewing as much as you can possibly get it, and then carry on sewing. And don't worry if it's not completely full. Nobody's going to stop a galloping horse to check out that all the points on your star on your Christmas tree are fully packed. If they do, well, they've really got nothing better to do with their time. Seal it off by doing a double stitch, which is just one stitch over the top of the other. And then what I do is poke the needle in, come right through as far as you can and out the other side. And then gently pull and snip as close as you can to the fabric. If I show you there, gently pull, snip, and then that end immediately disappears into the star. And then you need to squidge it about a bit. Give it a good squidgy, get everything in the right place. Got some stuffing sticking out there, so I'm just going to chop it off. Now you can spend some time fraying the edges of this if you want to. I like the frayed look, so I may well spend some time doing that. I won't do it now, but this is the sort of thing when you finished your crafting and you're settling down perhaps in the evening to watch some TV and think, I think I'll do a bit of fraying. And then you can fray bits of it. I don't want too much fraying, so I'll chop the extra bits off like that. And it's just a matter of pulling the ends. Some sides will fray easier than others. It all depends which way the grain on the fabric is running. And if you've got a particularly stubborn bit, get your pokey thingy. And you can go in just a tiny bit in from the edge. And see how much easier that is to fray things. And then you can go in then and trim a little bit of the edges off in case, like me, you've ended up with some really radical fluffy bits. I'm going to get a button. I've got this bag of Christmas buttons, so I could use red, or I could use green, or I could use clear with silver in. I think I prefer the red. I know it's a lot of red, but I like it, so I'm going for it. So I want a red button for one side. I definitely put too much cotton on this, didn't I? Make sure you got your point at the top. Put your button in place. I like to put mine so the lines, the two dots are running horizontal. Poke through and look at your star and make sure it's coming through straight. It is so easy to wander off and come out at completely the wrong place. Like that. Don't put it all the way through another button, back into the other button, through your star, out through the other side, through the button, pull tight, and that button will come in nice and tight. See, a bit twisted, yep, make sure it's not twisted, and pull. And then you can tie a knot, hold it in place, tie another knot, and you've got yourself a little bit of a padded star now. I'm going to try tying a bow, see what that looks like. Trim the ends if you want to. If you want to leave them dangling unevenly, that's up to you. Like that. And now we just need a hanger on the top. Come through the back into the centre of the wadding, up to the little point. Leave a little bit sticking out there. Put one little stitch where the cotton is coming out of your ornament, just to give it a little bit of a seal. Decide how long you want your hanger. Then do another little stitch, and then just to be extra sure, another little stitch. I'm very overly protective when it comes to sealing my sewing. Then back into the heart and staying on the inside where the wadding is. Come out a bit lower, pull the end until it's a bit tight and snip, and there goes the end, and the bit right from the start, pull it until it's taut. Slip it near, and there he goes, and they've disappeared. Now I think I prefer this without the bow. I like the ends hanging down like that. Yep, I'm going for that. Oh, I think that's lovely, and it's going to look beautiful on your Christmas tree. after that last video, I think we need something super quick to get us on our way. And this is the ornament if you want super quick. I've got a bauble. It hasn't even got an ending, but that doesn't matter. And I've got a gold Christmas tree with lots of fluff stuck to it. Unwind the little stand off the bottom of the Christmas tree. You're going to take your bauble. My glue gun is never on when I want it. I keep forgetting. So I've turned my glue gun on now. And while that's heating up, clear some of the space here. I've got this metallic cord and I'm going to cut myself a hanging loop. About that big. I'm going to put this little piece of glittery ribbon around the middle of this bauble. I think it'll look nice. A little bit of hot glue. Then I'm going to add a little bit of glue in 2 or 3 places, otherwise it'll slump. And you can't be doing with ribbon slump on your decorations. Now get your tree, put some glue on the end, then poke it in the hole, like that. Give it a couple of seconds to set, and also while you set it, make sure it's straight. It's very easy to get these a little bit wonky. I'm going to add a little bit more glue, I think. Now glue on your hanger, then glue something on the top of your tree. You've got yourself a lovely gold ornament, look at that. And all that took hardly any time at all and was such fun to do. Sometimes you have to refluff your tree because they can get a bit squashed and your branches won't be facing the right direction. But that doesn't take too long, just takes a bit of patience. There we go, another one done. Enjoying this video, then please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe because I got lots more videos coming out. Right, back to crafting. For this craft, I'm using twigs from this. You don't need to, you can use any twigs, but I find this, I get it from the pound shop, and I imagine you can get it from dollar store, other places like that. And you just take the wire off and you've got lots and lots of fairly regular, not completely, fairly regular sticks. So this is what you get, and I've chopped some up here already. Now you can see I've cut an angle on these. These are my 2 long ones. Oh, I suppose you'd like to know how long they are. I guessed 4 inches. Look at that. How's that for efficient? And then I cut one that is going to be just under 3 inches and one that is about 1 3/4 inches. I cut an angle on these and I'll show you how I do that. You don't need to do this. I just think it neatens it a bit. I've got one of these things and I can't be bothered set it, so I just hold it at the angle I want it to be. You can actually set these to be the right angle and then chop. You've got yourself a nice little angle. First thing to do is to glue the top together, and by angling these they'll just be a little bit neater like that. Hold them to the glue sets, which I would imagine is going to be much faster in December than it is here in July, even though it's really cold. This is the coldest July I can remember so far. I'm going to trim a bit off this bottom one because it's a bit long. It is so much easier if you're an efficient person and you measure first. I'm not. So there we go. I've trimmed that down and I'm going to glue both sides onto it. It needs to go down a bit, doesn't it? I've got a shorter one. And that I haven't got to worry. I can put that wherever it fits. So that's going to go about there. Next, put a hanger on the top. So get yourself some twine or whatever you like. I'm using twine. You can use ribbon if you want to. And then glue it to the back as near to the top as you can. You'll hide that with a star. It's easier to hang it straight if it goes nearer the top. I've just realised my wooden star is far too big. I can't use that. So I'm not going to use that. I think I'll use this gold star. A blob of hot glue. pop that on the top. And it completely hides the join where you put your hanger. Then I've got a few beads and a little bit of, this is an old Christmas tree leg branch, not a leg, is it? Trim them off. You haven't got to do this. This is completely optional. I just think they look neater when you trim them. And it's a little bit more in keeping with the size of the ornament too, because otherwise they're a little bit over the top. They can virtually hide your tree. The only thing with this, it does have a side effect, and that is lots of cleaning afterwards. We'll glue these in a pleasing fashion, however you like them to be. Those berries are a bit big. I need smaller berries. That's a better size. Look at that. It's really quick, really easy, and very effective, I think. Oh, I enjoyed making that, but no time to stop. We've got more Christmas decorations to make. I'm going to use some wooden blocks, some tumbling blocks. You haven't got to use tumbling blocks, but I am going to use these in case you haven't got any other access to any sort of wood. So I can show you how easy it is to just make yourself little mini planks out of tumbling blocks. You can put wood glue on if you want to be extremely efficient. I'm going to just go for a little bit of hot glue. You don't need a lot, otherwise they won't stick together very tightly. You'll have big gaps. Join 3 together. Try to keep them as flat as you can. And then you're ready to be working with a little wooden block. I've got some paper here from just a Christmas paper book. I'm going to put some, what is this? This is Scotch glue stick. Stick it on. Push it down hard. And then cut around the outside with a craft knife. Rub the end with a sanding block, and then you're going to need a hanger. And just to hide the knot, a little blob of glue and a little bow, stick it in place. Now before you do that, I meant to and I forgot, get some ink if you want to. You don't have to do this, it's completely optional. Just put a little bit of aging around the outside. I just think it adds an extra dimension. You could use red if you wanted to, or even green, I suppose. It would look just as good. I quite fancy putting some brown on. And you can see, because I put the bow on, I've got to just shove it out of the way so that I can reach to put some staining on. It's not impossible, just fiddly. And I've got this Merry Christmas that I had in a pack. I think it's supposed to be off the top of a cake. But we're not going to use it for the top of a cake, because I like to use things for different reasons than they were invented. It's always a bit of fun. Chop the legs off because I'm not poking it into a cake. Glue it onto my block. This one's going at an angle. 2 reasons, because I love a jaunty angle, and 2, because it doesn't fit unless I put it at a jaunty angle. I'm going to add a little bell there, just to add a little bit of interest. Like that. And there you go, done. That was quick, that was easy, and I think it's very effective. And if you want to, you can use brown stain all around the edge. I'll tell you what, I'll do that, and then you can see what it looks like. Just get your stain out. And again, you can do this with a felt pen or a marker pen if you wanted to. Put it all around like that. Then it matches in with the stain. Oh, let's do the back as well, why not? In for a penny, in for a pound. What do you say in America? Can you say that? Do you say in for a cent, in for a dollar? Or do you say something completely different? And there we go. It's almost country, but it's a bit too glam for country really, isn't it? I love it. Right, next decoration coming up. Gnomes are always popular, so I thought I'd make a gnome out of another one of my pine cones. So I'm only going to do a few steps and it'll look like a gnome. This piece of fabric will go round with an overlap the top of the pine cone. Pick which side you want to be the front, put it face down, and then glue your piece of fabric onto the pine cone as well as you can. It's very difficult with a pine cone. And then glue it to itself, like that. Decide how long you want the hat to be. Mine is far too long, so I'm going to snip along there. Add a little bit of glue in places around the top to make sure that it is sticking, because it is notoriously difficult to stick things to a pine cone. It's easy to stick your glue gun to your piece of card. I've got a piece of card there to stop all the glue sticking to my desk. It doesn't stop it all, but it stops some. I was going to do a hat down like that, but I think I'm going to leave it up, so I'm going to cut some more off because it's too long. Bind it together at the top with a pipe cleaner. I love my pipe cleaners. It's amazing what you can do with a pipe cleaner. And now our gnome needs a nose. Using a fluffy pom-pom, blob of glue. Poke it up just inside like that, so it looks like his nose is sticking out. Now that's a bit of a boring hat. We need to do something with it. So I've got a foam glitter sheet. I love this. I'm going to draw a line 1 centimetre away from the edge. Out with my pinking shears and cut up the line. Out with the hot glue, and just above the level of the bottom of the hat I'm going to start gluing on this little bit of trim. Out with the hanger. It is amazing how much twine I get through. One of those things. I never thought I'd use a lot of twine when I started crafting, but I use unbelievable amounts. Now pop the twine into the centre of the hat with the blob of glue. Poke it in. The last thing we need to do is cover the pipe cleaner. And for this I'm getting out my pinking shears again and cutting close to the edge I just cut. Don't need a lot of it. That'll do. And I'm going to glue this trim around the top. I think I'll make it even thinner. It's a bit bulky. Although he's supposed to be like a woodland gnome, you could actually get away with having that as a St. Patrick's Day gnome, couldn't you? I love him. He's so humorous. He's just witty and whimsical. Not at all sensible, but a bit of fun. Decoration, get yourself some fluffy yarn and a piece of card. This card is about 2.5 to 3 inches long, and then wrap your yarn round and around without stretching it. I'm going to err on the side of too much rather than not enough. About there, chop it off. And to make sure it covers the bottom of this cardboard triangle to there. And then I'm going to run some hot glue along this. I've never tried this before. Trying this is a cheat's way of doing this really quickly, so it could go well, it might be a disaster. Put that in place there. I'm not going to be sticking to all of the yarn, so I'm going to come across the top as well and see if that will help to make more of the yarn get attached to the piece of cardboard. I'm using my finger protector. I'm just going to wudge that about a bit. Make sure it's going through as much as possible. Now take my scissors and trim along the bottom of the piece of card to cut the yarn. And now we find all the yarn goes poof and lands on the floor. Oh no, it's sticking, it worked. If you're sensible, you'll do this first. I didn't. So I go to pop my triangle there and draw around it. And then cut it out. Glue this onto the top of my piece of cardboard. Like that. And this is what we're left with. So first thing I need to do really is trim this gnome's beard. It's a bit of a mess. Now we need a belt to go around the hat, or a strap. Make it look like Santa. Take the square slightly wider than the belt. Fold it in half and cut a little square out of the middle. I'm going to glue this little band on the hat. Make sure I glue right to the end. Trim it off. Then glue the gold bit halfway across so it looks like it's a buckle. This gnome seems to get messier every time I put him down. I'm not quite sure why. I think this yarn is very stretchy and springy. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Now the gnome needs a nose and I'm going to use a silly nose. I know gnomes' noses are usually very sensible, but I'm going to use this check one. I just think it looks amusing. If you want to, you can cover the back. I'm not going to because this is only for me, but if you're going to try selling something like this, you really do need to tidy up the backs of your items. And then get the pom-pom. Glue it firmly onto the top of the hat there. And I get the feeling that I'm going to be trimming this beard for hours because it just seems to keep appearing from nowhere. I don't know what's going on. I think, oh, that's nice and smooth, and then it just isn't anymore. Look, it's happened again. I just move my hands and there's another bit hanging down. Cool. So there he is. That is very cute. It was very simple to make and it's very eye-catching. I love it. Oh, let me know if you're going to make one of these. I just love him.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm.
For this craft, I'm going to take one of these, which is actually for making dots on your paint, or with your paint, and 2 pipe cleaners. I'm going to take the 2 pipe cleaners and twist them 3 times. Pop this between the wires and then twist 3 times again. You'll know you've twisted 3 times because you want the colours to alternate back and forth. So you can see there we got red and then silver. Take your little stick thing out. You can use a stick, you can use your finger. It's a bit difficult, but you can use your finger. Around 3 times, pull it out. And can you see there? You've got silver that side, and red the other. Now I have used these pipe cleaners before and they're going a bit bold. Ignore that. So pop your little stick, whatever you're using, in the middle, twist 3 times, pull it out, and just continue all the way around until you are virtually at the end of the pipe cleaners, but not pushing it too close because you need to seal the top.
The first for you and me. Another year went by, but the difference this time is that ever since July,
now you've got this effect. Curve it around till the tops meet and then put the one end right under and over so you've sealed the top of your circle, and make sure it is a nice circle. Push it down onto the desk to make sure it's nice and flat. You can leave those sticking up like that if you want to, or you can trim them off. All we need is a little embellishment on the top. I'm going to use these beads that are supposed to look like Christmas lights. I think they do a very convincing job, and they're flat backed, so they're much easier to attach. And put a red one going in that direction. And a silver one, yep, you guessed it, going in the other direction. Like that. Now, do I like those bits sticking up? No, I don't. I'm going to take them off. Don't be afraid to change your mind when you're crafting. I do it all the time. I'm using a bit of red twine and glue it to the back. Simple as that. And there you've got a gorgeous little wreath. Now you can use any colour pipe cleaners. You can just use the chenille ones. You don't have to use glittery ones. They're so easy to make. You can change the colour. You can change the embellishment. Whatever you fancy. Dead easy, a lot of fun, and you can have children to help you out doing these so easily. And if you can get these for paint dabbers, they are good, but remember, you can use anything, even a very fat pen.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe, and I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
After I'm going to use this little bottle with a cork in. I'm going to use this Christmas tree. I'm going to use this red, it's a bit of potpourri and it's broken, but that doesn't matter. First thing I'm going to do is fill this jar with some interesting bits and pieces. So I thought I could pop at least one of these in. I'm hoping to get at least 2 in. We'll find out now. Yep, a tiny bit of Epsom salt to look a little bit like snow. Pop the lid back on. Give it a shake about. It's just supposed to look a little bit random, and I think it does that. Just makes you think. It thinks of snow and red flowers. So now take your Christmas tree, chop the bottom off. Not too close. Bit of hot glue and poke it into the cork. Pop it into the top of the jar. Now we need a red twine hanger. Glue that to the top of the tree. I've pulled the top off this little bit here, and then gluing that into position. It should cover the knot a little bit. Like that. And a couple of little berries over the top of the end, like that. And look at that, you can put some festive greenery in the bottom. You can just put some snow and nothing else, perhaps a little character, something like that. But I think that's lovely, and I love the colour scheme. Well, what is there to dislike about winter green, red and white? Always a perfect combination. This last craft is just a little bit of fun, but to show you how easy you can come up with Christmas decorations. I've got this Christmas hat. It's supposed to go on the top of a wine bottle, I think. And if you add a Christmas hat to just about anything, you can turn it into a Christmas decoration. I mean, look how festive that ball of string looks now. If you had your string on your desk, pop a hat on it, and it just looks fun. I've got an owl, and now I've got a Christmas owl. I've got a tree, stick a hat on it. Look at that. But I'm not going to do any of those. I'm going to use a bauble. I'm going to take the end off because I always keep these. They're great for making new ends on things for Christmas decorations. And then a little bit of hot glue. On with the hanger, and look at that. a pretty instant decoration. So if ever you see these little Christmas hats in shops, and especially after Christmas, they reduce them really cheaply, you can convert almost anything into a Christmas decoration. Right, let's go see what this looks like hanging up. Upcycling old thrift store toys that are pretty good for nothing and turning them into something really special. The craft I'm doing today is from two toys I picked up at completely different times. The one I've had for a while, the other I only bought yesterday, and I've turned them into something that I think is superb. Well, you'll need to know how I made it, so no time for chatting. Let's get on with crafting. What can I do with this horse that's had a very close shave? I got it for 50p in the charity shop. Poor thing has seen better days. But I think better days are coming. I was hoping to save the finish on this horse, but it's not going to work, so I'm going to take his saddle off. Oh, the saddle's glued on as well. Oh dear. This is going to be a much bigger job than I imagined. I think we got a change of plan already. That saddle is not coming off. I can hear some clicking, so I really don't want to crack the horse. So we shall leave the saddle on, and now I'm going to paint him with some spray paint, and then I'll get back to you. Painting the horse and the saddle could be a challenge. You'll see how I get on very quickly because I'm not going to bore you with it. I'll pop and do it and bring the horse back. I got up this morning to see how my horse was drying, and it is so cold. I've had to stick an extra fleece on because it is July and I'm cold in Wales. The weather has turned, but never mind, I've got crafting to keep me busy. I was trying to decide what to do about the mane on the back of the horse. So I thought, well, I'll leave the tail in place and just cover it when I'm spraying it in case I decide to keep it. Well, I'm not going to. I've now decided it's going, so out with my scalpel. The horse has been fully anaesthetised, so he's fine, he won't feel a thing. Although I will if I slip. And I'll keep that in case I ever need it in the future, and I'll leave it wrapped up. Otherwise it's all just going to explode and I'll have bits everywhere. Now I'm just going to completely coat the horse and the saddle with white. I'm not sure what the eventual look on the saddle is going to be yet. I'm going to leave that as a work in progress and see how it develops. But he definitely needs a coat of white paint because I want him to look like the Christmas snow. So here we go with some white chalk paint. And because I've sprayed this with an undercoat, this should stick extremely well, which is the plan. Oh yes. This is going to be a fun job. No frustration here. The paint is just rolling on and in one coat covering absolutely everything.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down.
So here is horse now. He's all painted up. I put some black in his eyes. You can see I missed a bit under his chin. So I'm going to top that up later. I'm not going to do it now because I want to get on with the craft. And he's baldy. And that needs addressing, doesn't it? I took his tail off because I didn't like that being the other colour. And so we're going to go for a complete redo of his hair, his mane. I've got this. I've got no idea what this is supposed to be. I can see it could be a hair piece there, but what do you do with this bit? Right. That's where it comes of buying a cheap comb. Use the end bit. I'm going to take a section of this hair and turn it into the tail. So I want to plait it or braid it. If you don't know how to plait or braid, it's really simple. Divide whatever it is you're braiding into 3 equal sections. I think that's probably the most fiddly bit. It doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfect, but go as near as you can. This hair is very unruly. And then you bring the outside strip to the middle. Then you bring the outside strip from the other side to the middle. And then you carry on doing that. This outside strip to the middle, this outside strip to the middle, and work your way down. This is very difficult because this hair is much longer than I need it to be and it's getting in the way. I'm going to tie that off with a bit of twine that I have handy. It's better if you can use an elastic band, but I don't have any small enough and I'll end up going around 50,000 times, which is going to be a little bit time consuming. Like that. And then I'm going to tie the top the same. Get it as tight as you can. I've had to retighten this because the hair is so slimy, slippy, slidey, whatever you want to call it. I can't get it to hold with the twine, so I'm giving it a little bit of a twist with a bit of pipe cleaner. You can see just how easy that slips off. Now I'm going to use this to trim because I can't cut it very well with my other scissors. This is so stiff. It's not like real hair. Out with the finger protectors, out with the hot glue, and I'm going to glue this to within an inch of its life. I'm going to shove loads and loads of glue in because I don't want that all falling apart. Snip my pipe cleaner off a little bit now. I'm going to leave this on because I am going to be adding a bow on the tail, so it'll hide that. If you don't want to add a bow, I'm not quite sure if that is strong enough with just the glue. But, if you do ever try this, let me know. Would that be strong enough with just the glue? Now I'm going to glue it in place on the back of my horse. Oh yes, look at that. Now take the bottom bits off the pipe cleaner. And then, I've got to try cutting this now. Could be a while. I'm going to leave this tail virtually on the floor, but not quite, because I want it to look sumptuous. I think a lovely sumptuous Christmas horse would be good. Now I'm going to make the horse's mane. Having learnt my lesson last time, I'm going to start off by putting a pipe cleaner in place.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down. We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed.
Once you get the hang of plaiting, it is actually quite therapeutic. It's a bit less therapeutic because this hair is starting to get quite static now. And so it's very flyaway.
Singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day.
The right length is there, so I'm going to tie it off with another pipe cleaner. I love pipe cleaners, they're so versatile. Who would have thought the person who invented pipe cleaners would never have imagined that in the 21st century people everywhere would be using them for crafts. No through the end of my wig, it's very stiff. I think I'll keep that, that's enough to do something with. I'm wandering off here, getting another pipe cleaner, tie it up and put it away until I need blonde hair again. Make a giant sloppy paintbrush with that. That would be fun. Right, now I'm going to cut this fairly near the top. I want this to have a good length on the other end. You'll see why in a minute. And now when I glue this to the top of my horse, I've got a bit of a fringe. It doesn't want to stay down at the moment. Just had an idea. I'm going to get some hot glue, pop it there, and then I've cut a little notch in this top piece of fabric so it'll go around in a corner, and oh yes, oh that much better. Looks a lot less like a unicorn now. Not that there's anything wrong with unicorns, I just wasn't hoping for the unicorn look. What about that for a fringe? Now I'm going to attach this. Now don't worry that it looks a bit scruffy, because this is all going to be hidden with some decorations. I'll cut this at an angle so it doesn't stick out so much. Oh, I'm going to have bits of nylon hair everywhere for days, possibly longer. Pop that on there. Pop the hair on, or the mane, and then glue it all the way down.
Stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light, while we're dancing around the Christmas tree, hugging and kissing, just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house.
And I've finally finished with all the hair. This blue, I'm not sure what it is. It's come through the undercoat and through the chalk paint. Oh well, we'll make sure that's hidden. So now the next important thing is to put something on the top of my horse's head here. Let's lie him down and you can see him better. Or her. Not sure if it's a he or a her. I've got this pick with these lovely little leaves with some glitter on. So I'm going to start by making a basic background for my little decoration on top of the horse's head. One, to look pretty, and two, to hide the ugly big tuft of hair. Look at that, it's like a Christmas floral crown. It'll look a lot better when you can see it from a distance. I don't even know if it's in focus, but look at that. Oh, I love that. But now we need to do something with the mane. You can't have all that going on there without anything going on the mane, because heavy horses have decorations down their manes. And I've got these. This is one pick, so I'm going to take these off. Don't think we'll need a lot. Try 5. I always like to work with an odd number. Little blob of glue. And I'm going to poke this into the hair. Just like that. And now we need to hide the tail as well. So, same sort of embellishments down here, and I think we'll be well on our way. The tail at the bottom. Cut some ribbon, and I'm going to glue this in place first around the horse's tail, covering that ugly pipe cleaner. I know I always put the join at the back, but this time I'm putting it at the front because the horse's tail may swish around a little bit and I don't want there to be any join visible, so I'm going to hide it under the bow. So pop that around, covered in hot glue, and then one of my favourite bows to do, because they're so quick and easy, 2-loop bow, tie it in a knot, trim the ends, and you've got a perfect little bow. And put that on. Oh yes, it's starting to look lovely. Now we need to get a bow around this little piece of pipe cleaner. If I thought I should have put the piece of ribbon on first, shouldn't I? I think I'll glue some berries onto this first, and then glue a bow in there. It doesn't sit as well as it could, does it? Right. Now for one of those crafters hide-it bodges. There we go. Nobody will ever know if you don't tell them. I'm sure you won't. I don't know if it's the weather. I got more hot glue than I ever get. Just hanging everywhere. Do you find that the weather affects the mess you make with hot glue, or is it just me? Right, so this is starting to really come together now. I've got these lovely jewels, so I'm going to put some of those along the strap of the saddle. glittered sheet to make some reins to attach the horse to the sleigh. Or a harness, I suppose. I'm not going to make reins because this horse knows exactly where he's going. He doesn't need anyone to tell him. He knows his job. Cut pieces, the width of your ruler is the easiest width. You can cut them any width you like, but I like to go the width of my ruler. And then cut them in half with the pinking shears. You can cut without the pinking shears if you want to. I just think it adds a little bit of something extra, a little bit of pizzazz. And well, who doesn't need a bit of pizzazz in their life? This will be for securing the actual sleigh too. So it's just going to be coming around the horse. And I'm going to go for this length, purely because I don't want to go hiding the detail on the saddle. And then glue on a little bit of harness around to the back. And I'm going to put the join at the back, I think, because it's not going to go all the way around. So we might as well put the join where we want it to be, which will be under the tail. And round the other side. Sorry, Mr. Horse, I know this is rather personal. Over to there. Chop it off. Attach it on. And then we need some bells. You can't have a Christmas horse without bells. And I've got lots. Cut the hangers off and then glue them into place. If you've got bells, chances are they don't have hangers. You may need to add your own little bows. It all depends how the bells come. You can get them in so many different varieties and types. Oh yes. And now the other side too. I'm not going to be able to lie my horse down now, so sorry if it's a bit clattery, but I'm just going to get more bells and stick them on this side. And now to pick up on the saddle and to tie in the silver, I got this silver, this is metallic glitter polish. If you pop to the description below this video, there's an Amazon link there that takes you to my Amazon store with recommendations for all the things I use. I highlight this. You can use something like a little piece of foam or something like that. I like to do this by hand. One, I just love the tactile nature of it. And two, I feel I have more control. I can feel exactly where the paste is going. But it's all personal taste. And you can put as much or as little as you like on. You can really go to town on this if you want to. Well, you could even do the whole saddle silver if you wanted. But I like the idea of showing up the pattern on the saddle. I think that'll do. I think that's enough of a highlight. And so now it's time to get on with the sleigh. If you're enjoying this video, then please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And that way then you'll get to know whenever I put out any new content, including lots of Christmas ideas and other ideas right throughout the year. Right, back to crafting. While I was waiting for the paint to dry on my horse, I decided to pop to the charity shop or the thrift store, and there I found this for £1. Well, I thought this was perfect for what I want to make, so I decided I'm going to buy that. And I'm going to use that instead of the little tow truck. So let's get on with this. And first thing I'm going to do is a little coat of undercoat so that it'll be so much faster to paint. I put a thin layer of undercoat onto this sleigh. I'm trying to figure out what's the minimum amount of undercoat you can actually put on something. I think it worked out very well with that one thin layer, but fortunately it did because I've run out of spray paint. Let's straighten you up, you're all wonky. There you go. So now we need to put some embellishments on this sleigh. And for this, I've got beautiful pipe cleaners. They're actually 3 pipe cleaners rolled into one. They've made a nice stout pipe cleaner. The only thing is they're not long enough. It's a shame you couldn't get this on like a 2-meter roll. This is going to be glued onto the front here because this is a bit ugly. And also down here you can see there are joins that really have to be hidden. So I'm going to use pipe cleaner. Out with the hot glue and away we go, gluing the pipe cleaner all the way around this outside edge. Making sure it's a good width for the back. Make yourself a bow and making a nice easy crossover bow, like that. Fold in half so you know where the middle is, scrunch it up, pop a pipe cleaner on it, dovetail your ends, which I always find easier if you fold and then snip. If you try cutting a V into it, it's very rarely even. If you do that, and it's the same both sides. Glue that into place on the back. Then I'm going to get some different ribbon and make a bow slightly smaller. Measure it to make sure you've got it right. And glue that over the top of the other bow. And there we go, I think that will do fine. Right, I'm going to clean this mess up and then I'll get back to you. I've decided I'm going to use this last bit of pipe cleaner along the front here. I think it'll just finish it off. So now we need to put the attachments on that are going to attach this to the horse. And then add a pretty embellishment on the top to hide the fact that it's just glued on. Now I want to jazz this up a bit, but not too much because I'm going to fill it with things. And if you've got too much embellishment, then it's going to look a bit too over the top. I know you don't hear that very often from me, dear. Well, let's open this packet of wreaths. I think I'm going to use these. These were in my haul video from last week. A little bit of hot glue. And on it goes. And the same on the other side. If you only have one of a certain embellishment you love, make sure you put that on the side that's most likely to be seen. Very rare you see both sides of a Christmas ornament or decoration, so put it on the side you'll see, and the side that's against the wall can actually have nothing on. It doesn't matter because nobody's going to see it. It sounds bonkers, but I love this polar bear, so I think I might put him in. Well, I'll pick it up this way. There's no way I can decorate it lying down. We'll see what we can do. And I'm going to line the base with some tinsel. And that'll hide any places that are not completely covered. And then in with my tree. In with the polar bears. And I'm really loving the white, red and green colouring. And then just a few baubles, that sort of thing. See what I've got here. Some bells. And then a little bit of fun sticking up. And if you want to, you can fill this with Christmas looking toys. You could pack a lot of little boxes into parcel effect and you could put it full of parcels. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. You can't see the full effect side on, so now I'm going to show you the full effect side on when this is attached to the horse, because as you can see by my screen, there is no way it is big enough to show you that. Right, let's see what this looks like in all its glory, and I absolutely love it. Now you may have old wreaths that are a bit tatty, some that need complete redoing, or they could even be wreaths and wreath bases and forms that you bought brand new and you want to know what to do with them. I've got a selection of things here. Now, which ones will I be using? Which ones not? That'll keep you guessing. Right, no time for chatting. Let's get on with crafting. This first wreath, I'm going to use this pre-bought wreath that I actually picked up second-hand, and it was really messy, so I've spent ages cutting off this set of dead light bulbs that don't work. And there was also one pine cone, really not enough to count as decorated, I don't think. So I thought I'll jazz this up a little bit. I'll keep that pine cone for another time. I've got this ribbon and look at it, it's 2.5 inches wide, or 63mm by 10 yards. I got a load of this in a job lot from eBay a couple of years ago. Ridiculously cheap. Nobody seemed to want it, so I won the auction. And I've also got this that came with the same lot, and this is Deco mesh. It's finest quality apparently, and you can see it's got a lovely shimmer. I'm sorry, things are a little awkward. I'm not used to having my camera where it is. I had to put it in a weird place to get the height so you can see the whole wreath. So first thing I'm going to do is put my reels on the floor, otherwise you get in a terrible tangle, like that. And then I'm going to put the Deco mesh over the top of the silver, scrunch it up a little bit near the edge, and then take 2 branches on the outside of the wreath, put it between them, and then twist it like that, and that should be securely in place. Keeping these facing the right way, form a loop. You don't want it really tight, you want it to look quite generous, so about there. Scrunch it up again, and on the inside take 2 branches and twist them again. And we're going to do this all the way around before we do the floofing. So about the same again, and then come to the outside of the wreath, pinch it between 2 branches, and then keep turning your wreath and going from inside to outside to inside to, surprise, surprise, outside. Don't be afraid at this stage to tug your ribbon, make it go where you want it to go. Don't, because this is so stiff where it's a wired ribbon and a Deco mesh. If you didn't take control of it, it would take control of where it was going. Next we come over to the outside, pinch it, just make sure they're nice and smooth and even first. Now, if you're very accurate, you could measure the exact length of the ribbon loop. You could measure the exact distance between where you're fixing it to the actual wreath. As you know, I don't tend to measure things, but this will be fine because even though it may not look perfectly even now, you wait till we've finished. It's going to look lovely. And I'm going to bring this back to the outside, cut it off, pinch it together, and now put that, carefully open up the folds in the branch, put that one in there and fold it on top again, if you see what I mean. I don't know if I explained that very well, but they're both going through the same 2 branches. Make sure they can't escape. And now I'm going to open those out. So I'm going to put the silver to the outside, the Deco mesh to the inside, and then alternate that. Silver to the outside, silver to the inside, silver to the outside, and then silver to the inside. And then if you feel it needs neatening up, you can do that, but don't panic too much because there's going to be so much on this wreath you won't even notice. Somewhere on here I have the loop. There's a hanging loop here, so I'm going to put that at the top. And I'll try to remember where the hanging loop is. Now I'm going to take some baubles to decorate this. Now you can put on 1 bauble and it looks quite nice, just dotting them around. But I think this looks even better. I take 1 bauble and another different bauble and a smaller bauble. 3 different sizes would be better. I just don't have 3 different sizes. Put them all about halfway down the pipe cleaner and give it a twist like that, and then poke your pipe cleaner through your wreath to the back. It can be a bit fiddly, so just take your time, enjoy the moment, pop some Christmas music on, have some fun. Pull it through, twist the back. And I think that looks so much nicer than a single bauble. So I'm going to make another one of those clusters. I can't find any smaller baubles, only that one. I must have more. I just can't find them. So I'm going with the same size. But that doesn't matter. It'll be fine. Halfway down, give it a twist. Don't twist too enthusiastically, otherwise you'll pop the little hangers off. It's not a problem, just pop them back on again. But they're not very firm. Put that one on that. Well, there's a sort of join where the bow goes into the next loop. And then one more. See what happens sometimes? These pop off. Just pop them back on. If they won't behave themselves, then I'll show you how easy it is. Little blob of hot glue. Pop it on. And then it'll stay on a lot better. So I'll put that on that little gap there. And around the back we go. And twist. You can keep rearranging these if you want to, as you squash them and move them about. But that can be done perfectly when it's all finished. That's the best time to actually finish off that job. Now I'm going to take one of these I got for 50p. Always keep an eye out after Christmas. You get brilliant bargains. I'm going to put some hot glue on the feet. Poke it in. Then I'm going to put a little bit where that attaches to a bauble. A little blob of hot glue and attach it to the bauble like that. But what is that reindeer looking at? Well, it is going to need a bow, so let's get a bow on. Because my pipe cleaners are all short, my white ones, I haven't got any white ones left. It's amazing how many of certain colours you use, and I've got like purple that I've hardly used at all. My yellow ones I use a lot at Easter, my pink ones I use all year long, along with some blue, but purple I never seem to use. Give it a bit of a tug to make sure it's nice and secure, then poke it through your bow and attach it to the top of your wreath. If that's enough decoration for you, then you can stop here, but I'm not going to stop here. I've got more to do. So here it is. Now I fiddled with it. I wasn't happy, so I've cut these a little bit shorter, added a few more, and now as a final touches, I'm going to add some of these. Look at those. They are such fun. And they're going to be easy enough to just pop in wherever. I think they will add a little something. You may have decided to stop a long time before I have, but I just love this sort of thing looking really flamboyant. One there, and I think we'll put the final one over this side of the bowl. Like that. Oh yes. Oh, I think we need something down there. I've got one left. I'll pop that in like that. That'll just fill the bottom of the wreath too. Now that is a full wreath. Oh, I absolutely love this. It is so much fun. It's just happy. If you wanted a happy wreath, then this is the one. Look at that. I'm not sure. I think that one's a bit long and dangly, isn't he? What can we do with him? And there we go. Oh, yes. Now, look at that. I love it. And I love the way that this reindeer... Oh, my reindeer's popped off. I've done so much fiddling, I knocked my reindeer off. Bit more hot glue. Poor thing. I may have overdone the hot glue now, but hopefully he'll stick. And now we'll see what this looks like up on the wall. this wreath, I'm going to use this vine wreath. I'm not sure if it's grapevine or just vine, but it's a vine wreath. I've got this 2.5-inch ribbon with this really pretty pattern on it and lots of glitter. And also, look at this for glitter. Isn't that wonderful? So this principle works in lots of different styles of wreath. So I'm going to pop my rolls on the floor. Take the end of your ribbon, make a little loop and pinch the bottom. Tie some wire around it and twist it. I like to use pliers for this because it plays havoc with my fingers. And then poke the end of the wire through into your vine wreath. Now, you may decide that you want to keep this wreath for yourself and keep changing it up every year, so you can just leave the wires in. If you want to, you can tighten the wires around, or you've also got the alternative to push the wires in with some hot glue on them and they'll stay there forever, which I recommend if you're going to be selling this sort of thing. So once you've done your little loop, you then attach it, then you make a bigger loop and then attach that in the same way, pinching the end, wrapping some wire, poking the wire into the vine wreath. Then you make another swaggy shape and make another small loop, pinch it, wire it in, pop it into the wreath, and continue this all the way around. And then, as you can see, you can alternate the ribbons either side, and that makes them look really special. You can do a little loop at every junction if you wanted to. I think that can be a bit overkill when you've got such a thick ribbon on such a small wreath. And you know me, I've had another change of plan. I am going to glue these wires in place. I've decided. I think it'll be a better job. So I'm just going to have to bite the bullet, and I can't change this wreath up. It's easily done. Just pop them out, pop some glue on and push them back in again. Shorten them as well if you want to. I'm shortening them just a tiny bit. Glue all the way down because you don't know exactly which bits will be in contact with the wreath. And poke it into place. Now take some of this absolutely stunning gold, it's like a mesh, but it's quite soft and flexible. Take this, make some loops, put some wire around the bottom, tighten it, and then I'm going to glue these into place. Between one of the big swag loops is a little loop. Into the other of the big swag loop, there is no little loop, and in goes one of these gorgeous gold ones. And already that is filling up nicely. Now get yourself some narrower ribbon again. Look at this gorgeous red ribbon with the glittery berries. I just love it. I'm going to cut this into 8-inch pieces, fold them in half and make a little loop and put these at several positions around the wreath just to bring out the colour of the gold. I just think it makes it look so much nicer already. When they are in place, cut yourself some 24-inch pieces of ribbon and make those into a bow shape. Wire the bottom. I'm using a red glitter pipe cleaner this time because it's so much easier on my fingers and I have the right colour. And then snip the ends of the pipe cleaners nice and short and glue them into place. And I'm putting them at the other side or the back end of where I got this beautiful gauzy type ribbon. You can stop there if you want to, but this is me, so I'm not stopping. I've got bits and pieces everywhere here. Christmas in July and Christmas, I'm always in a terrible mess in my studio. Look at this. I've got bits of different projects hanging around ready to be done. And now I'm going to get some baubles, make little clusters. And don't forget, if the end pops off one of your baubles, just hot glue it back into place and it shouldn't come off again as long as you give it plenty of time for the hot glue to cool before you carry on. Now I'm going to glue some little clusters all around the wreath. And now I want to put some of these picks on to make some sort of flyaway shapes. I love flyaway shapes. Take this pick apart. You get so much bang for your buck when you take your little picks apart. And look at that. Oh, I absolutely love it. Now we'll need some more floofing out as usual. It's all been squashed and poked down when I've been doing things, but that will all pick up nicely now. I'll go around, floof it up a little bit, and let's see what this looks like up on my wall. If you're enjoying this video, then please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, because I've got lots more Christmas things coming up and lots more other crafts that I know you're going to enjoy watching. Right, back to crafting.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm.
I got this for 50p at Primark, and it had a few little picks of flowers on it or some foliage, and I didn't really like it. I didn't think it did much to it, so I took it all off and I'm going to jazz this up. I got some of this like legs of Christmas tree or garland, I think it was. It just came to me in little bits when I bought a box full of old Christmas decorations. So I'm going to put this onto my circle, and you can either glue it on or you can take two branches and twist them around, and then a bit further up take another two branches, twist them around, move them back to the front. This is a bit clattery, sorry. And if you want to, if you've got a big long piece, you can put this all the way around. I'm going to make these two smaller pieces work to show you that you really don't have to have fortune in crafting supplies to make something lovely. Those branches are going in that direction. Although this is a shorter piece, it'll be okay, and I'm going to go in the other direction. Make sure you twist enough branches that it will actually hold to the circular shape, otherwise it'll just start to sag, and you can't be doing with a saggy swag. And then straighten up all your branches.
Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me. The snow is falling down, and the storm.
Now I glue some pine cones to the centre, which can be a little bit tricky and will need a lot of hot glue.
Everything will be okay, 'cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you. I've longed for this moment to
And then I'm going to add some berries to the front too. Red berries, I think.
out of nowhere, just us and no one else.
And then to be sure your pine cones don't flop forward, which they could do, put a little spludge of glue underneath where the top of the pine cone is. It's not attached, so it'll move a little bit easily. Pop a nice big wudge of hot glue under it and then give it a press. And now in theory, yep, that holds great. And now add a few more embellishments.
It's Christmas, the first for you and me.
And now I'm going to glue this really cute owl onto the front of the wreath. I just think it gives a real woodland theme. I was going to use these, but they're the wrong size, so I'm not going to use them. Sort out your branches to look good the way you want them to look. They may need quite a bit of tweaking. This came with a twine hanger, so I'm going to leave the twine hanger on for now. I may change my mind, but for the moment, I'm quite happy with that. It was really quick to make and really easy. The pine cones cost me nothing. I picked those up from below a pine tree, and the owl I think cost me 10p in a thrift store or charity shop, and a few extra little bits that I had used in other projects and have taken them off. So now, let's see what this looks like up on my display.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe. And I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
Got my tinsel, I've got some baubles, I've got lots of decorations, lots of different bits and pieces, and we're going to make 3 Christmas crafts today. They're a lot of fun. I really enjoyed making them. But no time for chatting. Let's get on with crafting. For this craft, I'm going to take one of these wreath forms. They're just the thin ones. There's no dimension to them, which is perfect, just what I want. And I've got, put those down a second while I show you. I've got this paper. Now, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. I got it in the charity shop for 50p. I think it's possibly from where they package cigarettes. Years ago when I used to see them, they had this like gold paper in, so I think that's what it is. But you can use any paper, you can use ribbon, or you can use fabric. It's just that I got this here, I might as well use it. And I've got a tub full of bits and pieces, which we'll put to one side. We don't need that just yet. Now I'm going to take this really stout wire cutters and cut either side and take one of these sections out, including the 2 little leg things, if you see what I mean. So now this piece comes out. You may need to get somebody with very strong hands. I couldn't actually chop this, so I had to get somebody to cut it for me. So you set that to one side and then get some masking tape. Tear off some masking tape, and now you push these ends together. I'll show you there. That's the effect you're going to get. The one's going to be shorter than the other. That's not a problem. And then you want to wrap this very tightly. It's very clattery. So you don't want that pinging open when you've made your decoration. Like that. And then you do exactly the same with the other side. Oh no, isn't that glamorous? Don't worry, it's going to get better. Now take your paper, fabric, whatever you're using. I'm using this, and I'm just going to scrunch it a bit as I move along. Very noisy. Just to give it a little bit of texture, and it'll go around the bends easier. If you've ever accidentally snipped your finger protector, which I have, make sure the hole goes at the back. Otherwise you'll still burn yourself. And now I'm going to wrap this up completely with this paper, or your fabric, or whatever you're using. Now, because I'm using this paper, I'm scrunching it down a little bit because I need it fairly firm, because I'm going to be gluing onto it. If it was a bit too floppy, the things I glue on would hang off. So now I'm going to add some embellishment. I've got lots here. I've got my little tub of exciting bits and pieces, Christmas stars and lots of bits of pick, all in golds and creams. Got my ribbon there, and I've got this lot. And I'm not sure which bits I'm going to use. Got this tree that, as you can see, has already come off another project, and it's got a little bit of a trunk on it as well. Oops, which I just snapped off, so I'll re-glue on. No, I won't. I'm going to keep that off, and I'm going to put that there, I think. To attach this, I'm actually going to poke it through into the wreath. So some hot glue on the bottom. Push it through the paper. Push it down and hold it till it's set, and then I'm going to bend the top in a little bit because it's bending a bit the wrong way. Oops, there's a bit over there. No, trying to get it straight is very difficult. I do have this Bambi, but I think he's going to be sticking out a little bit too much. It's a shame because he would look lovely, or reindeer, whatever. He's an old vintage one. He's not particularly well made and he's worn, but I just love him. I think he's beautiful. Right, so now we need to stick on some baubles. Don't forget to keep the ends of your baubles. They always come in useful. Take that off. I always end up keeping that off. Woo! I'm making a terrible mess here. Now, you're better off taking the ends off with something like this, but for some reason, I can't get these on this year. I must have used a different pliers last year. Oh, there we go. We're getting there. If you've got glass baubles, don't cut the ends off. Whatever you do, you'll just end up with smashed glass everywhere. So let's put some of these bigger ones in place. A little bit of hot glue. And glue them on. In a pleasing manner. And that doesn't mean that, oh, I don't want to do it wrong. That means whatever pleases you, do. If you like it, that's all that matters. I think I'm going to come up quite a way here. Like that. And while they're settling, I'm going to take the ends off some smaller baubles. And now dot these around. You probably won't need to take the ends off these, and if anything, having the ends on will give you a little bit more to attach to the actual wreath if you're trying to squash them around things, if you see what I mean. Then I'm going to leave the ends on completely on these gold ones because they're smaller and they need all the help they can get to stick in there. And now I'm going to put some stars on. I think I'll pop that one in there. Why not? It's sure, so I'll pop it in. Like that. These are polystyrene stars, so I cut out the back. One, because they lie flatter, but two, which is the main reason, is that glue, oh, snap that one, never mind, is that the glue doesn't really work well with glitter. So by doing that, the glue contact there, blob it in, and then pop that in there. Whatever colour you like for this wreath. You can use pinks, reds, blues, whites. Because I had the gold paper, I thought, oh, well, I'll go with gold. And I've got these picks, so these are perfect. And you will find that you've got some little holes in between your baubles that are showing. But that's not a problem because we're going to cover those with our picks. Some hot glue. Not too much, but not too little either. Because, again, they're not guaranteed to stick wherever you put them if you put a tiny bit on. And isn't that looking amazing already? And all different lengths are good because you can pop them in where you don't want, like there, I don't want the star completely covered, but it needed a bit of something, so I popped that in there. And by the tree there, didn't want too much, but just a little bit. And by adding bits off your pick of this floofy stuff, it actually makes this look really high end. Which is always nice when you've got a home decoration you've made yourself and people say, oh, where did you buy that? You say, I made it myself. And they're very impressed. My crafts are usually easy because I'm trying to make things that you can make quickly because not everybody has hours and hours that they can spend making Christmas decorations. And it's not such a long video as well. If I make something very technical, it could take 3 hours. I could chop a lot off, I suppose, or run it at treble time. On the bottom here, I'm going to make some a little bit longer because they've got to come right from the back of the bauble. You still need to be able to see them. Now is the big question, do I put a bow on this or not? Because I love it the way it is. Before you put a bow on, you need to find out how this will hang. So put it on your finger and twist it around until you get your tree standing pretty much straight. So this is where I'm going to need to put my hanger if I want this to balance with the tree straight. So I'm going to mark that with a pen. There. And then I'll put my bow there. I think I will go for a bow. Why not? You know me, any excuse for a bow. You can stop if you want to at this point. I'm not going to. I'm not going to make a huge thing though. I'll just make something fairly sensible. Well, sensible for me. Make a bow shape. Make sure it's halfway. Pinch it together. I'm going to seal this with a gold glitter pipe cleaner. Wind it around a few times. And I can decide whether to embellish it or whether to just leave the gold glitter there. Dovetail my ends. Now I'm going to bring these two ends up and give them a twist, like that. And then chop them off. And now I've got a hanger already. Blob of hot glue on the back. Find your mark. And pop it on there. Oh, why not? In for a penny, in for a pound. I'm going to stick a star on the back. Well, that was easier. Just pick the back out rather than try using a knife. It is rather precarious when you use a knife. Pop that on there. And then a few more little bits of this gorgeous pick. It's not enough. Take that one out. Put a bigger one. You want more floofing. More extravagance. Like that. There we are. I'm going to pop one down there as well. Oh, I love that. Right. So that's it. I've got bits of ribbon and things everywhere. This has been a bit of a messy craft with all the glitter going on. But I absolutely love this. And when you think how easy that was, the most difficult thing is deciding what's going where, which is the most fun thing too. Right, let's see what this looks like hanging up. Enjoying this video so far, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and why not subscribe, because there are lots more videos coming out and I don't want you to miss any of them. Right, back to crafting. For this craft I'm taking this old cigar box. It's a bit tatty, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to paint this up, so I've mixed up some white chalk paint with 50% chalk paint, 50% water, because I just want a sort of stainy type effect rather than actually painting it completely. Just think it'll give it a nice aged look. It'll take a while to get all this painted, but fortunately this should dry really quickly. I'm trying putting this over the catch as well. Two reasons. One, I don't have to take my time to go around the catch. And two, I think it might just add another little dimension to it, because it just looks like a standard catch. I want it to look a little bit dated and aged like the box. And the same with the hinges on the back. Straight over the top. I'm going to get a virtually dry wet wipe Just give it a wipe over to make sure that it's not going to be too thick on anything. While that's drying, I'm going to check out this book of Christmas papers that I've got. See what I think will go best with the theme I'm thinking of. But one thing, it needs to be landscape. That's portrait. That's no good. And that's landscape too. Okay, so is that. We could have an issue here. They're all landscape. Well, isn't that frustrating? Oh well, I think I'll use this. That's going to fit in with just a little bit of edging around the edges, but widthways I need to check it. So I need that to be 5 1/4 inches. Flop it down and chop it off. There we go, look at that. Doesn't that look lovely? Oh no, my tacky glue's been stored up that way. Not good with tacky glue. It takes forever to get back down to the nozzle. So I'll probably cut the video here and get back to you when it's actually coming out. And now stick that in there. Perfect. I'm going to cut this ribbon at 45-degree angle, or what I think is 45-degree angle, which is probably far off. And then hot glue it into the side there. So I've got some bells all jingling. Push it in, and then do the same the other side. Now cut this pipe cleaner to size, about there. Yep, so cut another one exactly the same size for the other side. And glue them into place with some hot glue. You could go all the way around if you've got enough pipe cleaners. This is my last stripy pipe cleaner. I've used such a lot so far doing Christmas crafts. So I can't go across the top, but either side, as you can see, looks equally as nice. Now the next thing to do is lift your lid. Figure out where you want the box to be, about there. And then I'm going to bring, this is difficult to explain, put the ribbon in place until you're happy with it. Ow, don't poke yourself with your hot glue gun. And then put your ribbon into place like that. And then do the same with the other side. Bit of hot glue under there. Poke it into place. Now you can snip the ends off. And now your box lid won't keep flopping and you don't have to prop it up at the back with anything. There we go. Now, and I meant to do this before I did that, so we'll do it now. Pop it upside down. And I'm going to put some bells on for feet. I thought, wouldn't that be fun? Now, wad your hot glue and pop the bell just in from the edge. So do that all the way around. Now I've got a few happy things to put in this box. I love this jingly wobbly fairy. So I'm going to put her in. She's tipping forward a bit, isn't she? Let's see if we can do something. There, that's better. Oh, now she's falling backwards. Right. So that's it. I've got, you can see I used this on another craft. Cut some of that fluff off. So a penguin on a gift. And another gift. They were actually to hang on your tree. I'm going to take that out and I'm going to glue that one to the top of that one like that, I think, so they look like a nice little pile. Lots of hot glue because of this fluffy stuff. Hot glue that there. These are supposed to be penguins, but they look a bit like Batman to you. They do to me. Let's put some hot glue in. Got this Christmas tree that I got in the Hobbycraft sale for 50p. And I can put that towards the back there. Little blob of hot glue. bring this crazy angel forward a little bit. Like that. And I've got these snowmen. I think they look cute too. So I'm popping those in there. And then I'm opening up my bag of silver curly pods, they're called. Something else I got from the Hobby Craft sale, which I think is a bit like Hobby Lobby. And then scatter these all around the bottom. And by just using a tiny dab of hot glue, then you can change this up every year. You can change it up every week if you wanted to. And if you decide, oh, I don't know, not suiting my decor, well, just change it up. You can line the bottom with some snow if you like, some false fur stuff. That would be another different effect. Trying to get these in is a little bit fiddly. You could also, if you wanted to, use Epsom salts for this instead, rather than put in something big and chunky like this. I don't think I'd want Epsom salt in something as big as this because I would end up spilling it, making a terrible mess. Now, just to brighten it up, I'm going to add some little baubles all around the place. I think that'll look cute. By no means essential, but you can do it. You can do this with anything you fancy, anything you've got. I'm going to pop in a Christmas star or two. Just because I can. Oh, I think we should put one on top of the tree. And now one of my favourite things to do. Get yourself some glittery pipe cleaners, also furry pipe cleaners. Wrap them around a pen, pull it out, stretch it, and you've got a little springy bit. And then I like to poke these in wherever they'll fit. If you're going to make one of these, you're going to have loads of fun trying to figure out what you're going to put in. Keep fiddling around with it until you're happy. Change it up, change the colour. You can even have an advent box, and every week you change up the decoration. You could put a nativity in here. The possibilities are endless. Right, let's go see what this looks like in its right place. Craft, I'm going to use some baubles. I'm hoping I've got enough, and a polystyrene ball and possibly a tree. I've got an idea. We'll see if it works out. I'm also going to use some ribbon as a hanger, so I'm going to cut off the length of ribbon, and then I'm going to poke this into the ball using my bone folder and pop a little bit of glue in there because I like to make sure it's not going to pop back out when I finish. That won't be funny. Right, now I'm going to start adding these baubles to this ball. Now you can use any size. There are going to be gaps, but that doesn't matter because that's part of the design of this. So take off all your ends, pop them away safely. I think in crafting there's a fine line between becoming a hoarder and just being sensible and keeping things. So just be careful you don't cross that line, otherwise you won't be able to move. It is easily done. Make a little hole into the polystyrene ball with your little sticky out bit on your bauble. Then put some hot glue on there and poke it into the hole and give it an extra push, and it should stay nice and snug for you. After several attempts, I found the best way to do this, and that is to put your bauble where you want it to be and make a bit of a mark, and then put your hot glue on that mark, and it'll melt it a little bit, and then you can pop your bauble in like that. You do have to hold it for a while because they do tend to pop off otherwise. You've got to wait until the hot glue is firm. Right, let's try another experiment. Let's try poking a pencil in. Figure out where I want the bauble to go. Put the pencil in. I think that's going to be even better. know the one half is completely firm, that the hot glue has cooled, then you can turn it over and start doing the other side, but don't put any pressure on this now. Hold it carefully in your hand when you're doing it, because otherwise, look at that, I've got my pencil glued to my hot gun now. Otherwise the baubles will pop off. The advantage you've got is if the baubles do pop off, you've just got to glue them back on again. It's not the end of the world. One thing you will find is that it takes forever for the hot glue to cool down, because this is a thermally insulated thing, isn't it? A polystyrene ball. So it does keep it warm for a very long time, which means you spend a long time just sat here holding baubles against a polystyrene ball. Now you may be thinking, oh, the gaps are huge, you're never going to cover those. Don't panic. This is like magic. I've got some cotton wool balls. So floof them out a little bit, not too much. You don't want them falling apart, but you want them, oh, look at that one's undone. We leave that one. Leave them a little bit floofy. And this can be quite fun and therapeutic, as long as you don't mind cotton wool. There are people who can't stand the feel of cotton wool. And if you don't like cotton wool, then you can do this with, get yourself a piece of tinsel and cut yourself off little tiny pieces of tinsel, well, not too tiny, and they will pop in the holes as well. Now you'll need a pencil again. Mine is covered in hot glue now. Just about everything I own is covered in hot glue on my desk here. I get it everywhere. Pop a blob of glue in a hole, like that, and pop your cotton ball in and give it a bit of a push, and do that all the way around. This will do a better job if you use smaller baubles. It's just that I didn't have enough small baubles to do this, so I'm using bigger ones. And you can always improvise like that. Do whatever you need to do, as long as you're happy with it. The only downside with using smaller baubles is if you really like this white effect, which I do, or tinsel effect, if you're putting tinsel in, then you won't be able to get as much in because the holes will be so much smaller. I like having quite a substantial white base behind it. If you're hoping to reuse these baubles and you really don't want lots of glue and cotton wool stuck to them, then you can probably make this stick without putting any glue in. I think it probably would, but I'm just putting the glue in just to be doubly sure. Check all over it. Because I like the look, I'm going to check if there's anywhere I can add a little bit more. So there we have this really sumptuous looking Christmas ball. It's a hanging odd oversized bauble. If you've got a very large tree, imagine a tree full of those. And it really does take a cluster to another level. What about you? Would you add the cotton wool, or would you rather go for smaller baubles with smaller amounts of cotton wool? Or would you use some tinsel? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. So let's get started. Now this is a biscuit tin lid. It looks lovely already. So this is the first thing you can do to save some time, is to pick the lid of a biscuit tin that's got an image you like on it. If you can't, then if you pop online and look up free printables or free Christmas printables, you'll find something that you can actually print out and just glue on to the centre of your tin. But that'll take a little bit longer. Having a ready-made tin is much better, and you may find that you don't particularly want an image that looks very Christmassy. You want more of a vintage image, in which case check in the shed. There may be a tin of nails or screws or something in there that you can steal the lid off that. Just don't tell anybody. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got my paintbrush in my hand, I don't know why. I've been trying to organise myself. The first thing I want to do is take away this blue. Now if you decided that you like the blue, or if the tin is perfectly matched to how you'd like it, then keep it as it is. But I want to go for a more farmhouse type look. So I'm going to get rid of this blue and I'm going to put some white on. But before I do, it's very shiny. So I'm just going to take some sandpaper. Now I've only got this sandpaper, which is a bit rough really. It says P70. I'm not sure if that is the size. I think it is the grade. So I've got to be really gentle. I'm just going to scuff up this all around the edges where I'm going to paint, and that way the paint will stick much better And also while I'm doing this, it's a learning process. By doing this very carefully, whoops, there's a bit of sellotape left on there. You'll find little bits of sellotape that you didn't know were there. And also, it's giving me that idea of how light I need to sand this, which is extremely light with this paper, to not take all the paint off. Because I'm going to actually sand the front image, because I think it looks a little bit shiny and pristine. So here we go. Now I'm taking my life in my hands. This is definitely not guaranteed to work because I may do it too hard, but I'm going to do my best. Right, now you may think, how on earth am I going to masking tape around corners with straight masking tape? It's quite simple really. It's a bit fiddly at first, but when you get the hang of it, oops, it's not so bad. Stick that there. Now if you decide where you want your line to be, so I'm coming slightly in from the beigey colour and make the outside go where you want it to go, but it's going to really ruffle up the inside, but that doesn't matter, that's not a problem at all. So as long as you get that outer edge looking like you want it, you beat your masking tape into submission, force it around the corners and flatten it down. There we go. Now if you are going to use an image you're going to put onto the top instead of using the image just actually on the tin, then you don't have to do any of this. You can just paint it roughly where you want it to be and then you'll stick your image over the top, it'll be fine. Right, now I'm going to come out with my opaque Studio Acrylic High Viscosity from my very expensive palette, which is the back of a pencil packet. And now all we're going to do is paint white all around the outside. In with my tatty mat, the one I don't mind getting dirty or messed up or covered in paint because it's already bent and old and tired. And we'll put the hairdryer on this to speed up the drying a little bit, and I'll clean my hands off. Clean off a few of the spluts from there, and now I'm going to paint the second coat. Right, so that's virtually dry. Now, one thing I should have done, I'm rushing to get this done and I forgot I haven't put my hole in the top, and I've marked nicely where I needed it to go because I want this to hang straight. So the way I measured it, which isn't the best way in the world, is I put my paper along a straight line there. I'm going to put the hole about there. So I'm going to use my crocodile and make a hole in the top. Oh, I'm very pleased with that. I thought it may have scratched it a little bit. You may decide you're just going to rough this up with a little bit of sandpaper, again, if you've got a fine grit sandpaper. Or, if you don't mind taking a little bit longer, then we're going to do some dry brush technique on here. So I'm going to get some brown acrylic. So I've got to decide what colour I'm going to use. Now, I think I'm going to go for a really dark colour and add some white. There, that's what we want. This is the effect you're looking for. Hardly anything coming off your brush. You don't want it like that, otherwise you'll have spludges. You still have to be very light-handed, otherwise you could end up with spludges, as you see there anyway. But what we'll do is we'll rub those down a little bit if necessary. I'll go over with white and then go over the top again. This is what I was hoping for. This very pale look like that. Just my luck, the thickness has come right on the corners where you can see it. So, out with my wet wipe. Take some of it back off. In with the kitchen roll. And give it a rub. Right, am I happy with this? I don't want it uniform. I want some bits lighter than others. I want some with more marks than others. I think I like that. I'm going to stop. I could carry on. Oh, I think I'll put a little bit. Let's make sure my brush is very dry. And I put a little bit in the ridge. Just in some places. Like that. And near the edge too. Oh, this is fun. It's just like a decision process. Very arty. I'll pop some here. Oh, I feel it'll enhance it there. That sort of thing. It's quite fun. Right, so now the big moment. We're going to take the masking tape off and see how well it worked. Be careful because the masking tape with the paint on, for some reason the paint on masking tape stays wet for longer. Now the paint you use is all a decision choice. One of the reasons I preferred to go with the acrylic is that I know this is still going to be quite shiny, so there's like a sheen to the acrylic, so it sort of blends in a little bit. Not much, but it isn't as stark as if I'd used chalk paint. I've got this string here that I got from the pound shop, or rope, but it's very thick and it's not going to fit through that hole. I think it might be a bit large. Let's have a look. Poke that through there. It's going to really struggle to get two pieces through there. So what we'll do, we'll cut it to the length we want. So I'm going to make this a longer hanger because we can always shorten it down if necessary depending on where you're hanging it. And then I'm just going to split this apart, which is great because now I've got two for the price of one. So it takes a little bit of fiddling with. And now I'm going to try coming from the other side, and then I've only got to thread it once. Up it goes. And then tie a knot on the bit that hasn't yet come through, just to stop it coming through the hole. And there we've got our hanger. If you want to be really quick and you don't want to go through all the fuss of puncturing holes and things, just use some hot glue and fix them on with some hot glue. A way of speeding it up a little bit more. Right, that's very nice, but I just think it needs a little bit of oomph, a little bit more of aging type farmhouse vintagey look. So I'm going to get some bits and pieces. I've got some, these are little bits off an old Christmas garland. So I've got 4 of those, and I got, this came off, I'll show you, it's very messy. This was a vintage, like, I don't know what you'd call it, some sort of display. And it's falling apart, so I decided to enhance the falling apart properties by completely taking it apart. And I've got all these little bits and pieces, wood and little bits of fruit that I can use on my craft projects. So I thought we could perhaps use those and these. So those, there's a long one and a short one we could use each side. I've got some berries. There, we could use some berries. I've got a bit of ribbon. I think the first thing we should do is have a look. Blow all that off there. Again, it's a decision process, which is quite fun, depending on how long you've got. If you're rushing, then forget the decision process. Just be practical. Think, right, I need to balance this up this way or that way, and just get on with it. But I've got the time and the luxury to be able to fiddle about with this a little. I think that's going to look good, so now I'll turn on my hot glue gun. Right, while I was waiting for my glue gun to warm up, I've been looking and playing about with this, and I've changed my idea on the design. So those are going to be down the bottom, these are going to be up the top, so I have to start by gluing these 2 sticks on. Something down here. I don't want to go too far. I could stop now. I don't think that's going to work. And have I got anything in my little bunch here? I've got some berries here. Let's have a look at these. Ooh, you can see the glue has gone quite old on these. It just falls off. Oops, as the berries do. Oh yes, I actually like that. Yep, I'm going to put some there. Nice bunch of glue in there. So I think that's looking pretty good. Now there is another option we have. We could surround the outside. I've got this rope here. We could put some rope all the way around here. I think that's really going to lift it, so I think we'll go for that. Take my life in my hands. It's always a worry when you do something like this. You think, oh, if I do that, will I ruin it? Well, we'll find out. Right, now there's one more thing I'm tempted to do. And I'm thinking now, shall I do it? Covered in glue. I could make another bow. Let's have a look. What size do I want? You can adjust the size of your bow by how far apart you hold your fingers. There. Fold it in the middle. Tie it up with a piece of string. You may ask, how long should that piece of string be? Good question. As they say, how long's a piece of string? Right, so we'll tie that in a double knot so it's not going anywhere. And bring those to the bottom, fluff out little bowy bits, the loopy bits on the bow, and then decide where you want to cut this bow. I don't want it a long, dangly, feminine looking one. I want it to look a nice, rustic but pretty one. There. So pop that on there with a little bit of glue, and then pop my bow there. Now that I am very pleased with. I've just noticed there's a tiny little bit of glue showing there, but it's a bit more than a tiny bit. So I'm going to pop these over the glue, using a bit more glue. I know it sounds crazy. And then you won't see the big lump of glue sticking out. The little fine bits that I'll pull off when it's all completely dry. So there we have my Christmas wall hanging decoration. Super fast, super easy. Anybody can do this. I know you could do this. It is really basic and looks much more impressive. It looks really high end, doesn't it? You'd swear you got this from one of those fancy craft fairs. Why not give it a go? Why not have a look, see what you've got, and see if there's anything you can come up with before Christmas and make yourself a brand new Christmas decoration. A quick and easy candy cane decoration that anybody can make. So I've got a few things here that I'm now going to put to the side. And then I will show you my pieces of cardboard for this very technical demonstration. Now I'm going to make the candy cane out of cardboard. You can buy pre-made candy cane. I'll show you, I got one here. This sort of grid that you can actually build things onto, so you don't have to do any work if you want to cut down the amount of work. But this will cost you money. I've simply used cardboard. But I've used 2 layers of cardboard, and I'll show you why. Cardboard has got a natural line where it's corrugated and it bends so easy. It's very flimsy, and if you make something out of a single layer of cardboard, it's going to damage so fast. And I've got 2 here, and they're both exactly the same. If you put them together, that doesn't help. But if you put them at 90 degrees, the corrugation on the one way and on the other piece on the other way, now you've got something very strong. So when you're making your pattern for your candy cane, always make sure you cut one running on the one way and the other at a 90-degree angle to it. And I'll show you some that I cut out earlier. Here are mine. Now, they're a bit tatty, but that doesn't matter. I had to cut mine out with a penknife. I know, my husband decided he needed to borrow the Stanley knife. He didn't tell me it was gone, so I used a penknife. I got there in the end. I just almost had to chew through them. So when I cut these out, if you have a look, you can see the corrugations running down there and across there. And that's because you can see already this one's got bent. So it will be a useless decoration. It would last 5 minutes. I've got bits of thread everywhere. So if you do 2 different directions and then glue them together, then you've got something much stronger. Now I used tacky glue for this. Here's my Aleene's quick dry tacky glue. And always make sure you go near to the end, or the edge rather than the end, and give it a good coating of glue, but not too much. You don't want to spend out a fortune on glue, because it is surprising just how firmly this tacky glue will hold. And the chances are, if you do one side, the other side will hold. But I just wanted to be extra careful. So when you do this, be sure that you're gluing the right sides that you want glued. If I glued this side and then went to put them together, you're in a bit of a mess. You want to make sure you open it up like a book. So put it as if it was together, open it up like a book, and you know you've got the opposites then. Now also with this cardboard, the corrugations are much more obvious on the one side to the other. So I decided that I'm going to put the corrugations, or the more obvious corrugations, inward, so that it doesn't affect the candy cane, even though we're going to cover this, so it's not so important. But it just felt like a sensible thing to do. Right, so when you got your candy canes glued, pop them together, and if you've been a bit of a messy cutter like me, you will find that there are certain pieces that are not quite lined up. You need to fiddle about a bit, and don't take too long over this part, just in case it dries on you. But then, get your scissors and you can just neaten up like there. There's a little bit sticking out there. We just chop that off, near enough. It hasn't got to be perfect. Now when they're dry, you can leave them like this if you want to save some time, but just to be doubly careful again, I decided I was going to paint mine white. I didn't worry about it being a perfectly white coat, so as long as you get a coat of white on there, then it'll just means that if anything is showing through, it'll show through white rather than brown. So here's my painted and dried cardboard. Now it's a bit of a mess, but that really doesn't matter. So the next thing you need to do is to get some fabric. Now I always use recycled fabric. I go to charity shops, a bit of Christmas trim there. I find fabrics that nobody wants because they're in the form of dresses or things. They're in the 99p bin where they're saying, please take us away before we go to the rags. And I then take them away, and I've had some lovely things. This is off a bridesmaid's dress, and there was yards of it. So what I've done is I've cut it into 2-inch strips. Now I've got some white, because we're doing a candy cane. And I've got a few strips of white, and I've got some red. Now the white is going to be easy enough to disguise the edges. I'll show you there. It's a little bit tatty where I tore it, but that isn't an issue at all. But on this red one, I wanted to make sure that it didn't have tatty edges. So if I show you on this white, what I did is I ran some glue down the one side. I'll show you, I'll actually do it. You can't see it very well. Ran some glue down the one side, folded it over like that, and then ran some glue down the other side. Only I did the whole length of the strip, and then folded that down that side, and then let it dry, and you've got yourself some nicely edged fabric. Right, so now we get our white, and the first thing we're going to do is cover the candy cane. Now you may find if you painted the cardboard in here, it's still a little bit wet. It takes forever to dry. I like my candy cane go in that direction. You may decide to do one of each in both directions, but for the sake of this, I'm going to have this facing up, so I'm going to start on the back. And I'm going to glue that down, and then always making sure you turn the edges in on the bits that will be showing. We'll come down the bottom first. And it's just a matter then of going around and around, making sure that your raw edges, these are what you could term the scruffy edges, are covered, and you've got enough glue to hold it in place. So when you finish, you can now neaten things up. I've got a few stray bits sticking up of the white fraying edge. If you've got anything that's really awkward, you can just make sure you cover that when you get on to the next stage. Look at me, I'm covered in glue. And the next stage is to add the stripes. Now there are a few ways you can do this. I've got two things to show you. One, you could put on something like this. This is a bead, what would you call it, garland I suppose, that you can buy to go on your Christmas tree or whatever. Now you could, I'll just do this from this height and show you, that'll be easier because it's so long. You put that around and that is pretty quick and it's very easy and pliable to do. So that is in one sense the easiest way. I fancied having something that looks more like a candy cane with almost equal size stripes, and that's why I've opted to use this red. Oh look, I'm covered in glue. I'm always covered in glue or paint or something. The plan is that I'll be able to tuck it up in there a little bit, just a tiny bit. Just hold it for a couple of seconds to make sure it is drying out or cooling down, and it'll have more adhesion then, otherwise it's going to fall out, because you've got to put a little bit of pressure on now as you come around the corner. Now this is not going to be enough. I've got another piece here and I have worked out that it should, in theory, be enough. We'll give it a try. Right, I've cut this at an angle, blob a little bit of glue there, pull it around and let it cool for a couple of seconds before you let it go. And there we go, you've got one candy cane covered in some red stripes. Now it's a little bit messy now because I've got bits of glue everywhere. And now we need to decorate this. So there are a few options. That's pulling a little bit loose there, so I'm going to put a little bit of tension on this here, on the back, put a bit of glue in, there, and then pull it around a bit tighter. Right, so there's my candy cane. It's made of fabric and it's got a nice feel to it. It doesn't feel like cardboard at all. Now, what is the best way to decorate a candy cane? Well, whatever takes your fancy. You could stick something like a gingerbread man on there. Put it at that angle so you can see him. He's looking quite gorgeous there. I got one of those, a giant snowflake, or even you could put your giant snowflake halfway down like that, and then I don't think a gingerbread man's going to go well. So let's rummage in my little bag, see what I got in my glue gun before I melt it off. And I've got a little Santa here with a candy cane that we could put on. That's quite nice. And I've got a robin with no wings. That's not going to work, is it? I need to find him some wings. We've got a star. There. I've got a snowman. I got all these in a bag for £1 today in the charity shop. That's not showing very well, is it? Too transparent. And we've got long dangly bits. No. I've got silver bows. I don't think so. Poinsettias. No, this is a fun thing, so I don't want anything serious like a poinsettia on it. Got some snowflakes. But to start, the first thing I want to put on, and then we can figure out if we put in anything else on. Oh, I don't know. That may look nice, having a selection of things up like that. You can really do absolutely anything, but I'm going to move all these out the way and show you what I think is going to look best. Put that wreath there, move all the glitter off there, and I've got some bits of branch off an old Christmas tree. So I've had a look and figured out that I can make these say the word joy if I use that as the O. So I find my scissors, and what I've done, you can see on this one, I've shaped it into a J, but trim a few more bits off rather than leave it really bushy. Well, this is a bushy one. Now, this has a join in it, so I'm going to use that as a Y. If I put that there and that there, you can see the difference. The Y looks really tatty, so I'm going to trim down the Y. Make a mess everywhere. This is not the thing to be doing if you've got very gluey hands, otherwise you're going to look like a Christmas tree yourself. But if you just chop all the bits off, it looks so much more glamorous and elegant. It's quite easy to do. It's actually quite fun. Cleaning up afterwards is not so much fun. So now we've got J-O-Y and a very messy table. move everything out of the way. So I think that that is the best way to decorate this candy cane. Joy, because it's a bit of fun. So we need to stick those on. And for that, we're going to use more glue from the glue gun. It's another rogue. Sorted you out. So rather than glue the candy cane, I glue the letter because you're never going to get it in exactly the right place. Now you could leave it like that. I quite like it left like that, but let's have a look if an embellishment is going to add something to it. So we've got our little snowflake we could put there. No, I don't think so. We put our little... I think that's really amusing putting that on there. I've got a penguin. No, he needs to be more three-dimensional for this. Like a gonk on a pine cone, but I don't think that suits. I think the pine cone... Can I take the pine cone off? No, it's pretty firmly stuck, so I'll keep that for something else. This little homemade tree? Nope. A gnome type person. You can see here the price on these big 49p when they were all joined together. 3 or 4 of them I had for 49p. Oh, I like that. Yes, I think he's the one. So should we put him straight? I think my camera's a bit wonky, isn't it? Do that. There, that's a bit straighter. Should we put him straight or should we put him at a jaunty angle? I do love a jaunty angle. I think we'll put him at a jaunty angle. Should we put a star behind him or not? What about a bigger star? Put a bigger star here. No, I don't think a star is working. So we'll give up on the star. We'll take this little hanger off him. And now we'll glue him at an angle on there. Now you can put absolutely anything. You could put some buttons on this if you wanted to. You don't have to put words or anything. Buttons always look good on just about everything you make craft wise. So we're going to stick him there. Hold him just on for a few seconds. Right, now this is all well and good, but how do you hang it up? Well, I'm going to make a hanger. Now I've got a few things I could use. I've got this stripy twine. I've got this rustic looking twine, and I did have until a few minutes ago, yes I found it again, this little bit of check bow. So let's have a look what looks nicest. There's, obviously it will be more central, there, and there's that, oh there's, let's hold this there, a string. I think I'm going to go for the ribbon. Let's try this. No, I don't like the rustic look with this. I think it should be all pretty. So, yeah, I think we'll use that. So the best way to fix that to the back is more glue. I'm going to not just do a blob, I'm going to do a run of it and put a little bit of length down the back. Because I wanted to have a really good grip. And then glue that to the glued down bit, like that. And again, because it doesn't really have any views from the back because of the way I've designed it, then that is fine like that. It's always best while your glue is drying just to be sure you're happy with the positioning of everything. I quite like that. I've just thought now that if I hang it like that, it's not going to hang well, is it? So I'm going to take this off if it isn't too late. And I'm going to slightly angle that there. Move this over a little bit more. Yes. Be brutal with it. Come on. Do what I say. Give it a good tug. Show it who's boss. And then when we turn it over, that's better. You've got a hanging loop now, so you can hang it on a nail or something, and it'll look perfect. Now you can add some glitter if you wanted to. You can add some ribbon. I quite like it as it is there. I think I've done enough there. So let's clear up and have a look. So here we have our candy cane, made from some cardboard, some second-hand clothing, some vintage and second-hand Christmas ornaments that I got from the charity shop. The only thing I paid full price for was the glue. And so you can turn out something really pretty very quickly and very easily with very little cost. Did you enjoy that? I really did. Oh, I am so looking forward to getting stuck into all my goodies. This is just one tub of tinsel. I've got loads in here. We're going to have a lot of fun making this. Oh, there's something hard in the bottom here. What's a tree, I reckon? What do you think? Yep, there's a Christmas tree in the bottom of my big tub. So I'm going now to make some crafts ready for Friday's video. It's going to be an interesting one, so don't miss it. If you haven't subscribed already, then why not subscribe? Because you don't want to miss any of the fun. I'll see you all next time. But until then, don't forget, happy crafting and have fun. Bye.